Hey, we are live today on the 16th of November 2017. And so far on the panel, we have Patricia, UK, IE, and Aaron from America. And Aaron's come on. Oh my goodness, I'm really sorry. I've got the live feed going. No! 2 seconds. I haven't done that in ages. Can't turn it off. Come on. From America, and that's it, it's gone. I'm sorry about that. I haven't done that in ages. Let's start again. I'm going to play a little video. Oh, there's Yudit.
Hello, everybody.
Hello, Yudit. I've actually just lost a video because my feed came on. I'm just going to get this video back up. And Aaron's going to talk about the Lumen project. Aren't you, Aaron?
I am.
Take my... Just hang in. It's so annoying. How are you, Levena? I'm not sure she can hear me. Internet problems, guys. Always internet problems. Do you have the same, Aaron? We have a sort of lagging thing going on. Patricia has it as well.
I think we're okay. I mean, I'm okay over here, I believe.
We have this sort of lagging thing where the signal goes in and out. I mean, I've actually got I'm wired into the modem. So there shouldn't be a problem, should there? I'm not Wi-Fi.
I mean, you're coming in fine with me. So it might not be your connection.
Am I coming in okay? Because I'm trying to encode a video at the moment, so my computer might be acting funny.
Can you pause it?
Yeah, I'd pause it, Levena, while we're on a Hangout, because the Hangout takes so much of the bandwidth.
Yeah.
He paused though.
1 sec, I'm just getting this video up, everybody.
It's waiting like 24 hours for it to encode. Hopefully it doesn't cause problems.
I know how I can do it. I'm going to do it on my phone. It's much easier because everybody's computer is really slow. So I'm going to do it off my phone. That seems the easiest thing. So... here we go.
I used to be a guy who was experiencing the world, and now I feel like the world and the universe experiencing a guy.
When the curtain goes down at the end of the drama, the hero and the villain step out hand in hand, and the audience applaud both. Because they know that the hero role and the villain role are only masks.
As an actor, you play characters, and then if you go deep enough into those characters, you realize that your own character is pretty thin to begin with, you know? And then you suddenly have this separation and go, who's Jim Carrey? Oh, he doesn't exist, actually. And at a certain point, I realized, hey, wait a second. Easy to lose Jim Carrey. Who the hell is Jim Carrey? There's just a relative manifestation of consciousness appearing, and then somebody gave him a bunch of ideas. They gave him a name and a religion and a nationality, and he clustered those together into something that's supposed to be a personality. And it doesn't actually exist. And none of that stuff, if you drill down, is real.
And so you see behind the stage, too, there is the green room, where after the play is over and before it begins, the masks are taken off.
Dressing happens, doing hair happens, interviewing happens, and it happens without me, without the idea of it. You know, it's really, you know, the fact that we're already enlightened, we're already complete, and it's just realizing that you're complete. Once you realize you're complete, then this life and everything in it becomes a play of form. something to toy with and play with and make something good out of. It's what's happening right now inside everybody is they're going, who am I? And they're depressed, a lot of people, because they're trying to hold up an image in the world. And that's what depression is. People go like, oh, Jim's been depressed and stuff. Well, yeah, I was depressed when I was trying to be the Wizard of Oz instead of the sweaty guy behind the curtain. But now I know that Oz is a character, Everybody walks around and they go like, why am I depressed? Well, it's because you're trying to be something for the world, and as soon as you let that go, better things happen because they're just happening. And there's been a series of kind of awakenings I've had in my life, and people chalk it up to depression and all that stuff. I think that grief and sadness and all those things are the ticket home to nothing. I think that was a part of the process. There's been several other awakenings, and yet still I have a lot of egoic attachments that pull my attention and focus. I think the right marriage with the right character and the right guy who's going through something is essential.
And so that behind the scene, that is to say, in reality, under the surface, you are all the actor. Marvelously skilled in playing many parts and in getting lost in the mazes of your own minds and the entanglements of your own affairs, as if this were the most urgent thing going. But behind the scenes, in the green room, you always have a very tiny sneaking suspicion that you might not be the you that you think you are.
That is the end. And on that note, over to you, Aaron. Really looking forward to your talking about your Lumen project.
Awesome, thank you. Yeah, that is good stuff. Jim Carrey, I've kind of seen him go through all these phases, and I think he does represent a portion of the popular crowd that is actually trying to wake up and trying to wake people up. From everything I've seen, he might be a little off his rocker, and sometimes, but aren't we all? So thanks for that.
Yeah, I mean, you can find a lot about him saying stuff at the moment, on YouTube, all stuff like that. A little bit of pain in his voice when he's talking, really.
Yeah, well, I think he's been through a lot. It hasn't been cheap for him to come out and start speaking things of a spiritual nature.
The fact that he understands the one consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. I mean, that's what interested me. And then I found, a few I found, and then I found that one. Anyway.
So let's talk about Project Lumen.
Project Lumen.
So, all right. I have been working on a lot of projects lately and forever, it seems. Project Lumen being the umbrella of it all. This has been my vision for probably all of this life and many other lives. I'm calling it Project Lumen now because it's about projecting light into this world. There's a number of projects that I think people will be interested in that are like sub-projects of Project Lumen. Just to name a few, Iron Coin is one of the big ones I've been working on. Zetetic Reality, a bunch of Flat Earth related kinds of initiatives, like Flat Empire. Now I just started working on a reality show concept with a number of people. And so what I'm doing right now is I'm in the finishing stages of bringing Project Lumen, the platform that it'll be on, and then as well as Ironcoin and the initial launch of that, making it available for people to buy. And how it'll work is it'll all work in conjunction where as people buy Ironcoin, which is an investment, whereas Ironcoin will gain a value, and that value ideally will go up because of the value coming from the Iron Foundation and everything that it'll be producing.
You've got to start somewhere, haven't you? You've got to start somewhere and get it going.
Absolutely, and that's the thing. There's been a lot of hoopla about Bitcoin lately. Right now, today, it's just skyrocketing. It's probably close to 8,000 by now. And there's a lot of interest coming in, new people coming into the market, realizing that Bitcoin and blockchain are a viable alternative to the central banks that have been really causing all this disruption for so long. And so that's why I'm really focused on the blockchain, focused on Ironcoin, and its relation to Project Lumen is very important as well, because Project Lumen will act as the sort of a window into this world, basically. It'll be a way for people to contribute, to get involved with these projects, and that contribution will be documented and recorded alongside. So now each one of these projects will show how much contribution has gone into it and who's contributed that. And that'll all tie back to Ironcoin, and therefore, as these projects go on, perhaps they go on to be profitable, then people are going to receive a return back from that profit based on how much they contributed. Ironcoin itself, my vision with it is to establish it as the new Bitcoin. There has been a lot of, I would call it disinfo coming out with Bitcoin lately. And the reason I believe is because there's a lot of parties that don't want to see Bitcoin succeed. They don't want to see blockchain succeed. Just like when Napster came out, everyone was able to get free music. Of course, there was parties that did not want that to happen. So they went the legal route. They were able to get Napster shut down, but they were not able to shut down the peer-to-peer network, BitTorrent. And they've tried, and they've tried, and they've tried, and they've tried for years, and they have not succeeded because they cannot. It's a distributed technology, very similar to blockchain. Now, what blockchain allows us to do is store and transact our value using a similar concept. The idea that we can all just be connected on a network that doesn't have to be a centralized network allows us to then have a record, a ledger of all the transactions that are happening. And that ledger essentially is like writing something in stone. It's immutable. And there's a bunch of cryptocurrencies, right? There's over 1,000 of them. Well, they're not all equal, and they're not all great. Some of them are even less than great. The main problem with a lot of them is that they are not decentralized, or they're centralized. Now, this is the main problem with our society, is that the banks became centralized. As soon as that happened, it was a massive problem. Here's a little quote from Thomas Jefferson. I believe
you mean
that
it's going to be hard for you to sort of like, you want your money things completely different, and you're trying to set it up in the other system. That's what you're saying.
Right, yeah. So essentially, I'm going to go over, today I'll go over the problem, where the problem came from, and what I've been putting together as a solution and how we can proceed forward with that solution. So the original problem really stems from the formation of central banks. Now, Thomas Jefferson, one of our founding fathers, seems pretty genuine compared to a lot of them. He was quoted as saying, "I believe that banking institutions are more dangerous to our liberties than standing armies." if the American people ever allow private banks to control the issue of their currency, first by inflation, then by deflation, the banks and corporations that will grow up around these banks will deprive the people of all property until their children wake up homeless on the continent their fathers conquered. And he goes on to say, the issuing power of currency shall be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs. Now, Thomas Jefferson was saying this for a reason. He was saying this because they had just achieved this. They achieved it in their own way, perhaps by tethering their currency to gold and removing it from the centralized authorities, the royalty. Now, obviously, it didn't take long for the central banks to sneak back in, create a few acts that allow them to exist, and then the Federal Reserve coming into being was sort of the epitome of it. That was where the central banks officially became members of our political parties, and it was pretty much over since that point. Now, I'm not going to go much into the history of all this, as much as just point out their strategy here. It was basically to convince everyone that we did not have that authority within ourselves to manage or govern ourselves regarding finance, regarding currency, regarding the medium of exchange that we all choose to adopt to transact. You know, what are we essentially trying to do? Well, we have goods and services. They're valuable intrinsically. So therefore, I would like to have this good over here, this product. And so I have a service, I can trade, that's bartering. But now what happens when the items, the services or products being bartered are not equal value? That's when a medium of exchange becomes necessary. And that is the purpose of money. Now, usury is where you're able to charge people for that service of a medium of exchange. And now that is highly unconstitutional. And then just the act of being able to make money on money is also a violation of natural law. You know, you cannot create nor destroy energy, right? Well, this should be the same with money, and we should treat it the same. We should follow the natural laws. And so that's why it shouldn't really be a centralized authority that has the ability to create money, because now they are creating energy, and we're saying, oh yeah, it's fine if they defy the laws of nature, and that's not fine. And that has literally created all of our problems that we have right now. And then if you look at the addiction that has come about to money, that addiction has really put our society in a state of disorder and disease, where now a great majority of people are worshiping this false idol known as the petrodollar, and they are enslaved into a system of having to work 9 to 5, having to work even a lot more than 40 hours a week just to have a roof over their head and have food in their bellies. Well, that's a great injustice. You know, no one gave anyone the authority to establish that as the way we should live. And I think there's a lot of people that would agree with me is that this is not the way we're meant to live. This is, in fact, a violation of our natural rights, our divine God-given rights, to essentially exist in this realm. And as long as you're not hurting anyone, there should be nothing imposed upon us. And I think we can also agree on that, but then where do we go wrong? I think we obviously we are not in that society, that idealistic society, and the reason is because we gradually got more and more brainwashed, more and more hypnotized into this lure of money, and that it is the means, it is the end goal. And even if just fundamentally surviving and being comfortable, well, you have to make money. You have to do that And how does one make money? Well, they have to get a job, or they have to essentially sell their free will, their time, and how they use their time in order to.
Aaron, can I say something?
Sure.
Can I just say, everything. I mean, at the ombudsman in the case I had agreed with the banks, and yet the banks board, and I know they make you wait 4 years, the ombudsman, and then they say here this is, and then they say they can't help you.
Right.
And all they've done is protect the bank. And the banks just have the rule. Get it, like, not quite backhandedly, but they do, don't they? Because the ombudsman should take the 4 years that they made you wait into consideration, but they don't. Oh, so they get your case and they go, it's too long ago now. And for all the other bodies that want it there 3-6 months later, it's too late. Who have they protected? It's not impartial. And then you think, hang on a minute, body being paid to do nothing because they can't help anybody. So it's just right. The banks win again.
Absolutely, yeah. They're useless. They're absolutely useless. Their technology is extremely behind the times. I mean, if people understood how insecure the banks are, how hackable. You know, people criticize Bitcoin and say, "Oh, it's going to get hacked." Bitcoin's never been hacked. Banks have been hacked. Often. They don't announce it on the mainstream news usually, but it certainly happens. And ironically, the actual technology they even use was something they kind of stole. Basically, there was a guy who hacked into the CIA or something. They caught him, and he was using encryption technology. They basically offered him a deal where as long as you build this for us, then we won't press charges. And so he did, and that's what he created, what's called the SHA-256 encryption, and that's still what all banks use. And it's actually inferior compared to a lot of the blockchain technologies and the encryption technologies that we have nowadays. And that just goes to show you that they completely lack innovation. They are the epitome of the corrupt corporation, and you know, essentially if you look at the fractional reserve system, I mean, 10 times they're able to loan out 10 times what they what they have in their store. So essentially, that's a profit of 90%. You could look at it that way. Or, I mean, it's just a ridiculous system. It's completely backwards, and it's in no way ever going to produce a sustainable culture or society. And so this is absolutely the heart of the problem. And then look at all the corporations that have stemmed from it. We have NASA. We have all of all the space agencies. We have the military even. You know, look at its lust for money. I mean, $600 billion budget right now to the U.S. military, and compare that to the Russian military of $40 billion. You know, so why does the U.S. need to put so much into military development when, as far as I can tell, the world's pretty peaceful? As long, you know, besides all these guys, the central banks and the politicians stirring things up and making all these false claims about terrorism and all this, you know, and who even knows about the nukes? You know, we have no reason. If you look on a map, go ahead.
If you look on a map, where are all the military bases and who's got them? It's the West.
Oh yeah.
Over the place. So who's actually controlling who?
The U.S. has always been just the war machine that the elite use to dominate, you know, and to take resources from other countries. It's always been the West for sure.
Yeah, it has been, and that West, that Western mentality, is the root. It's the problem. It's the source of the central banks. It's the source of this power over, control over government, the mind control, the notion that in order for us to be upstanding citizens, we need to, be working our 9-to-5 jobs. And if you're only working 40 hours a week at this point, you're pretty lazy. You need to be putting in at least 60 hours a week in order to consider yourself a decent citizen of whatever state you live in, and that's complete lunacy. If not, as I say it that way, it comes out of my mouth, and it's just, that's completely ridiculous. However, this is what we're all doing. We're all very actively supporting this. Like, we're just on board with it. And I know a lot of us here that are probably listening to this are not on board with it, or maybe we have to be to whatever degree, but we would prefer not to be. And we see the lunacy in it. And so that brings me to solutions, right? Like, what do we do about this situation? Because it's obviously a problem, and the great majority don't even realize the problem, but the problem is there, and there are solutions. The solutions have been percolating for decades now. Blockchain is one of them. Peer-to-peer distributed technology is another one. Technology itself is a solution. And that's a massive, massive point here that, let me just elaborate on that, because there's a lot of misunderstanding about technology. People want to, they want to fear everything, first of all. So everyone's like trying to find new things to fear, and now everyone's afraid of Bitcoin and the AI. Oh my God, the AI. No, technology, AI. I mean, it's AI is not an evil thing. Just because you saw that in the Terminator movies does not mean that's what it is. The only way that AI could come and attack us and kill us all is if we programmed it to do that. Now, I'm not saying there aren't people, perhaps these central banks, that wouldn't be incentivized by doing that. But they're not that smart. Like I was just describing, they have really outdated technology. They get hacked all the time. Don't give them too much credit. The banks did not create Bitcoin. That's why it's decentralized. They have created other coins like Ripple and Stellar that are, and even Bitcoin Cash, I think, is probably a manifestation of the central banks trying to overpower Bitcoin. The problem they have with Bitcoin is that it's decentralized. So technology is really just a tool. You can use it generally for anything you want, good or evil, and even to call something good or evil is really just a label that you can attribute however you want. And so really technology is just a tool. It's just a way for us to do things in this physical realm. I am endorsing the proper use of technology. I am building things, technologies, that are the proper use of it. That's why it's Project Lumen. That's why it's all based on light. These are light-based technologies, meaning that I'm listening to my heart. I am meditating. I am stilling my mind. I'm listening, and I have been doing this for decades. What are the solutions here? How can we pull out of this mess that we're in? I've been really analyzing this. I've been really dissecting these issues, and I've been very openly, receptively listening for these answers. And over the years, I have been learning the skills that I needed to implement these solutions. And here I am. I have the skills. I have the vision of the solutions. At this point, all I really need is the funding power, because I even have the team, most of the team already built. But really, it comes down to the funding to be able to pay this team. Working capital is necessary in order to create things of this scale. I've been building it all by myself at this point. And so I just want to throw that in there. I'll probably be reiterating that point. But, essentially I have been...
Thank you, Myron.
Thank you. I've been, really focused on serving humanity through learning these technologies that could provide the alternatives and solutions. And so here they are. Blockchain technology is a way for us to counter the centralized forces, even corporations. Think of it this way. There's a corporate entity, a corporate monster, I call it, that has sort of taken over the entire world. And what it is it's this bottom line. It's the profit drive. When an organization has solely a drive for profits, it will not have empathy, and it will not have compassion. It will not care who it steps on. It will not care that it's putting people out of work in favor of people who are slaving in other countries for less than they should be. And this all stems, again, from that centralized bank, where now they've essentially made the dollar our god. People say that Bitcoin is the mark of the beast. No, the petrodollar is the mark of the beast. If you want to have a mark of the beast, I don't really think there is one. I think that's all a self-fulfilling prophecy that these same parties have been trying to push on us to keep us in fear. And the reason they're keeping us in fear is because we have the ability to do exactly what I'm talking about here. We have the ability to rise up against these central authorities and say, no, you're not our authority. We choose to govern ourselves in a new way that is free from centralized, bureaucratic assholes that think that they, for some reason, are righteous and were born into this world with a right to have power over us. That is not correct. No one ever gave them that authority. We gave them that authority. We continue to give them that authority by continuing to spend the petrodollar, continuing to live in fear in any way, continuing to even vote or even acknowledge that Donald Trump is the president of the United States. No, he's not. I never voted for him, and I never voted for anyone. And so, how'd they get there? They got there because they pushed themselves there. They pushed their way on top of everyone, and they took that position by force. Now, we have to do this in a different way because we cannot fight force with force against that power. We will lose. $600 billion a year, they have the military to destroy us. So instead of force, we come in with, we don't even come in. We just organize. We just come together. We organize ourselves and the alternatives that will enable us to do what we need to do. All right, so I have things of value. You have things of value. We need a medium of exchange. Why does that have to be the petrodollar? It doesn't. So let's use something else. There's an alternative. All right, so we can't trust any scientific journal, or most of the experiments that have gone on in the last 100 years are probably manipulated. So we need to do it ourselves. So let's adopt a new system. Let's build a platform that allows us to document all of the experiments, enable others to perform these experiments or reproduce them. Let's see what results we get statistically across a wide range of people. And let's put all of those results in one place. Let's start having these discussions about our findings and putting them into this same place. So now everyone can see not only the results and the experiments, but also the conversations that have happened around them. Over time, our understanding, our theories will start to develop more and more. And we will continue to be open, and we will continue to be skeptical about our theories, so we will never be settled. And this is a way for us to completely reinvent science. We don't have to wait for the scientific community to acknowledge anything or to admit that they were wrong or that they made unfounded assumptions. We, the flat Earth community, have already figured that out. We're quite certain of that. So rather than trying to go like just get all riled up and angry with the scientific community, or I mean, sure, we need to wake people up and plant seeds, and a lot of people are doing that work. That's very important, good work. And a lot of people are doing this scientific work. The only problem I see now with it is that it's where is it? And I know Mr. Thrive and Survive is talking about this a lot. He talked about this at the Raleigh conference, and he just made another video about it where he's saying, we need a common wiki sort of that can be where all of this data is stored in a common database. And I'm saying let's do that. Let's take it a little further to put it onto a decentralized platform that now no one could corrupt it. And so this is really the technology that I'm developing, and I really want to talk about here is this sort of anti-corruption technology. Blockchain is that at its heart. Peer-to-peer, the BitTorrent network is also that. Various platforms like, I don't know, Reddit might be a little corrupt. 4chan is pretty not corrupt, but pretty crazy too. Discord is a great new chatting platform and you can do voice chat, video. You can do a lot of things with it. It's really great, and I've been involved with a few new communities on there. And so ultimately, how do we build corruption-proof technology? And that is really what I'm describing. Maybe I'm just throwing these words out and people don't necessarily know what they mean, so I'll go into them. Like decentralized. I mean, obviously that means the opposite of centralized, but what does that really mean? Centralized, a good example is Google or Amazon. These guys are centralized corporations where all your data is in their hands. They have access to all of our data. Facebook has access to all of our data. Even if it's private between members of Facebook, Facebook still has access to it. And because of that, it's a problem, and that is a good example of centralized. Now, decentralized, as far as I know, Discord is decentralized. And now it is open source, and so what that means is essentially there's no central database that has all the information. There's no one that can just go and access any of the information, even if there is a central database, even if it's, but if there's not the organization being able to just access that data. So Bitcoin is a really good example of this now, in that anyone can have a Bitcoin account, but not anyone can use your Bitcoin account. Only you can use your Bitcoin account. There's no authority where, oh, I got locked out of my Bitcoin account. Where's the technical support? There is no technical support. You lost your money if you get locked out of your Bitcoin account. And that might suck, but it's the beauty of Bitcoin. Hopefully you didn't have too many Bitcoin. So that is, I don't know if I'm doing a good job of this, just describing the difference between centralized and decentralized. But essentially, decentralized allows us to have a world community where there's no central leader and no one has central control over everyone else. That's why this is so important. We developed this, and it might these might seem like difficult topics. If they are, I don't know. Let me know. But what is open source? Open source is where the source code is visible to everyone, to the public. It's in the public domain, which means that anyone can go online and download the source code for Bitcoin. proprietary is the opposite of open source. So what code does Google use to create its search algorithms? We don't know. It's proprietary. You know, how are they basing things? We don't know. It's all guesses. You know, how does Facebook work? We don't know. It's all proprietary. I could tell you it works very poorly, but we don't really know how the exact code because it is an example of proprietary code. Now, the problem with proprietary code is that there could be backdoors. There could be places where Facebook is just documenting your every keystroke and sending it right off to the NSA. And actually, as it turns out, they are doing that. We found that out. So now that we've found that out, shouldn't we do something about it? You know, again, these problems are all in our face, and the solutions are also present. And so we really, it's like a paradigm shift where we're really just seeing that we have the solutions, let's just get on board. Like, okay, so time is an illusion, right? Like, okay, we started this hangout at a certain time, and that was for organizing ourselves. And so at the same time, when the sun is at this location, is when we're going to have this hangout, right? So that's the purpose of time. Again, it's like a tool. But to make it where like now we're limited by time, so we have to put in a certain amount of time in order to feel worthy of our roof and our food. You know, that is an illusion. There's no reason for that. Time is a tool. The measurement of time is a tool. Time itself doesn't really exist the way we have come to think of it. And the reason I'm saying this is that this doesn't need to take a long time. We have the current technology right now. I have pretty much everything blueprinted. I have probably 80% of this actually built as far as the software. Of course, that's going to take more time, but not a whole lot. And the more funding I can get, the more quickly this can happen. Because again, me by myself, as opposed to having a team where I can delegate some of these tasks and speed this process up quite a bit. Fundamentally, what I'm saying here is that time is not a limiting factor. So if you're thinking, oh, this is going to take forever for us to overcome this centralized banking cabal, no, not. Like, I'm hoping that by the end of this hangout, we've all decided to just go ahead and do this. See, and this is where I'm coming from, is that we have that power right here and now to change our paradigm, change the entire paradigm for everyone. As one person wakes up, so too does the collective gradually wake up a little more. And as we make these decisions, what was that?
Oh, I just wanted to say that I think like the biggest problem really is, you know, that so many people are trapped in this illusion that they can't really live without the system. You can't truly live with it, you know, and it's like coming to that realization that in order to truly live, and yeah, just it's like we've got the solutions. It's just a matter of people break free from the illusion, do it. You know what I mean?
I do. Yeah, you're sounding really robotic, Levena, but I could kind of hear you.
It's a shame, really. She's got a beautiful voice, and she just sounded like a robot. But we just about hear what you said. Do you think, Aaron? Do you think you just have to? The whole thing you're in is the start of a new thing, and it just runs parallel to the rest.
Exactly. This is exactly what I'm saying. Yes.
Is that something you've got to do legally then?
Yes, and that's also what I've been doing. So, you know, I've got it figured out to where, like Iron Coin, for example, is a cryptocurrency by the standard term, in that you could trade it on the market, you can buy it and sell it with other cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin and Ethereum and such. Now, with that, any gain in profit. So if I receive money income from funding of the Iron Coin, or if I receive capital gain by my investment in Iron Coin or any other cryptocurrency, then I would have to pay capital gains tax on that living in the United States. Now at this point, I absolutely will pay capital gains tax. I'll pay all my tax that I need to pay, because I'm not going to be as effective if I'm in jail. And so therefore, I need to ensure that I am following the rules, the current rules, enough to, and we all do, really, I believe, even though, of course, there's all of the commercial redemption stuff where, we can sort of exist outside the system. And I'm not saying to not do that to anybody. I believe in that kind of thinking, but the problem with it is now, if you want to try to be a really solid functioning member of society, good luck. You can't really participate within society if you start telling people that you're not, you've sort of denounced your citizenship and you're not paying taxes and you're not registering yourself or your vehicle. I mean, you're probably going to run into some problems in the current society. So it is really important to follow the current laws, just so we stay out of trouble, and so we don't push them. We don't push them in a way that we don't give them anything to latch onto. Essentially, if I break a law, now they have something to just, get rid of me with. And so I don't intend on breaking any laws here. Now, having said that, Iron Coin is sort of a dual coin, and this is why. There's the Iron Coin, but then there's the Iron Token. And the Iron Token would be more of an internal currency, and it won't really be a currency by the standard definition, because you wouldn't be able to trade it on the markets. You wouldn't be able to buy it with another currency, and you wouldn't be able to sell it for another currency. It would be completely internal to the ecosystem that's created with this platform. And that will span all of these various networks. So Zetetic Reality, Project Lumen, Iron Coin, Flat Empire, and many other platforms that will come. They'll all be a part of this giant umbrella. We'll all have this sort of internal token that will be good as a medium of exchange for goods and services. Now, this is because you can't trade it on the markets and you wouldn't be able to buy or sell it with currency. Now it's not a currency. What it actually is a LETS, a local exchange trade system. Now, a LETS is actually permissible by even the U.S. law right now, as long as we can. It's very similar to like if you go to the arcade and you win some tickets, and you can go and cash those, and you can go trade those tickets in for a ring pop or something. Then that's more like bartering. You have a certain medium of value, and you're trading it, but you wouldn't be able to walk to the bank with those arcade tickets and cash them in for cash. You just wouldn't be able to, and that's the reason they're able to get away with it. That's the reason that they don't tax the arcade tickets, is because they're a part of a LETS. Now we can do that. Now it's supposed to be local, right? Well, just so happens that the internet is local. It allows us to be local, and so therefore we could have a local network that would work across the world, and allowing us to have a medium of exchange to trade goods and services. Now there's no tax. Now if you don't have any of this, you just provide a service or a product to someone, and now you have some of it. And we can tether this to the members in the network. And so now we have combated inflation. Now, whenever there's a new member that's added, there's a new potential Iron Token. Now, that person doesn't just get it for free. They have to earn it through their goods and services. But the idea is that now we will only have as many tokens as we have members. And as the member base grows, so too with the tokens. And that way we would never have inflation. And we can do a lot more with it. And this is just an idea I'm presenting. And this is really the transitional technologies, ways for us to go from where we are now to the vision of where we want to be. And that's key. That's really where I've been focusing, is that transitional technologies of using the internet, using sustainable energy technologies, communications. Another great example.
Can I ask you one thing? There's a question in the chat room, Aaron. It says,
Sure, yeah.
it's rich. It says, we're in an electronic age, but it could be shut down at any time by the powers that would want people to do without electronics to access their Bitcoin, altcoin, cash.
Well, okay, so all right, so I'll talk about that in conjunction with the internet itself. Now, if we had sustainable energy, solar and wind power, and then we had our own communications, towers that can communicate across, we can even use Wi-Fi to create a mesh. A mesh is a distributed network where instead of having a central source of the network, there's like a router is sort of a central source. Everyone's getting their Wi-Fi from this central router, right? Well, now if those routers could connect to each other, and they just sort of are transferring the signals to and fro, and then you just connect a bunch of them and create this massive cluster, or this is actually called a mesh. Now what's happening is we've created a decentralized network where now one of these or a few of these routers could go down, and it's okay because now you're going to have the other routers compensate, pick up that slack. And it just so happens that the network we have with even the cell towers could be tooled for this kind of network pretty quickly. It already has the hardware. We would just need to modify the software and push it out to all these devices. Now, we don't, of course, have access because all communications is centralized. So the internet is centralized. Cell service is all centralized. Even though it doesn't seem like it, it totally is. And that's why we pay for it. And try getting the internet for free. Try getting your cell phone for free and your cell service for free. Now, why does this cost money? Because they can charge us money, not because it has to. This should absolutely be a built-in service of our government. This is an intrinsic right. If we have the technology for us all to stay connected and communicate with each other, we should absolutely have it, no question, free of charge. It should be a part of our taxes if we pay taxes. Otherwise, we all value that. We would all value having a network for us to communicate. So I think we would all be willing to pitch in whatever's necessary to maintain that infrastructure. So to even think that we would have to tax us, that the government would have to tax us to provide that service is not true. Because where does our tax dollars go? $600 billion to military. No thanks. Didn't vote for that. Never wanted that. Let's take that back. Let's put it towards infrastructure. There we go. We don't need to pay for Verizon and AT&T and Time Warner and all these sick corporations that suffer from their addiction to the bottom line, to the profit gain, and so now why does it cost us? The cheapest I've found that you can buy a cell service is $40 a month here in the States, and I don't really think that's even cheap, to be honest with you. But at the same time, why is that price set? Well, that's because they all get together and they all decide what's the cheapest we're going to offer this, because they could offer us anything. I actually calculated it once. I calculated the infrastructure cost, and it's so cheap compared to how much they're charging that we're talking like it actually is probably a cost of maybe 25 cents a month. and then they're charging me $40. So think about that profit. You know, and if you're getting that from everybody, and for again, $40 is cheap compared to a lot of cell plans, and you know, it's less than $1 is the actual cost. So they could be just charging us nothing. You know, they could just be, this could be easily a part of it. And so this is a great example of centralized and decentralized. So all our communications, everything's centralized, and that's the problem, and that's the real reason why if we had an EMP or some huge disaster that shut down the power and the communications, we would lose communication for a time. Now, we would not lose our Bitcoin. And here's the reason why, is because the Bitcoin blockchain, which is the record that's written in stone, it's in so many places, as in millions, even probably billions of places. It's well backed up. So, you know, as long as you remember your code to get in, or you have your wallet, and they do make hardware wallets even that will store it. And if you're super paranoid, you know, you could freaking write out your private key on a piece of paper, and now you've got it. And so now, if that happened, yeah, a lot of people would lose. Now, everyone would lose everything you had in banks too. So it's not like it's one or the other. In this case, you know, yeah, if we lose internet, if we lose power, we've got a challenge ahead of us. I'm very confident that we would figure it out, and I'm also very confident that if that were to happen, we would actually spring back pretty quickly and much better, as in we would build the whole new infrastructure, decentralized. We would all have free power, communications, everyone would be, you know, I think it would be a great thing, which is why they're not going to shut the power down. Because what would happen if the power shut down? Everyone would wake up. You know, they stop being able to watch the TVs and stop getting brainwashed constantly. You know, no, they're very devoted to like keeping the power on.
Oh yeah, they need to keep the electricity and everything going because they need to control us.
Exactly.
Power goes off when we start waking up more, then they won't be able to control us.
Right.
Done, Aaron. Yeah. So yeah.
Yeah. So. So back to technology. Now, these are all been various examples of how technology is a tool and it's not intrinsically good or evil. And what I'm inviting us to really jump on board with is this reality that we can use technology right now to make this move forward right now. We don't need to wait, and waiting is actually detrimental. At this point, things are happening so quickly that not only can we, but I'm recommending that we do. I'm recommending that we all really just look at any resistance that you might have to what I'm saying right now, and present it to me, but also, you know, really analyze it and really try to understand why is it that I have that hesitation, that fear? You know, is it the fear of the unknown? I think with Bitcoin, a lot of times it's the fear of the unknown. People don't really understand Bitcoin and how it works. And then there's a few people there's been a lot of disinfo coming out lately. I honestly would say that all of these indictments and a lot of these distractions, these false flags, I mean, a lot of this stuff, it's all distraction because they don't want people noticing that Bitcoin is skyrocketing. And it's going to continue skyrocketing because as Bitcoin skyrockets, it's a mass exodus from the centralized powers, the control that the central banks and the central politics has been able to have over us for a while now. And it hasn't been as long as they'll sell it to us. Like they've told us, oh yeah, you know, we've known it was a globe for at least 500 years. But we know that's not true, and it might even just been, you know, less than 100 years ago that they really clamped on with the
60s, 1960s.
Yeah, exactly. It came in the 60s. I mean,
1960s.
69 was when we officially officially went to the moon. But then even I was just researching, what is his name? Glenn, I forget the name of the astronaut that was before Apollo 1 even went off. He was saying, he was putting up a bunch of concern that this was not going to work, that all the astronauts that tried to go into space were going to die. And he even hung a lemon on the Apollo lander, or pod. And then him and a few of his other fellow astronauts died in a fire in the pod. As an accident. And then later someone else started talking out about it, and he and his entire family were the next day or the next week just hit by a train. The car was smashed by a train, and that shows back in, that was like in 67 maybe. So before 69, there were already people speaking out that this was looking like a sham. This is not looking legit. And rather than let them come out, they took care of the problem, as they always do, and they launched their hoax. And ever since that hoax, we've all believed, oh yeah, we're on a spinning ball, totally confirmed by NASA. There we go. And the same is true with central banks. That was unconstitutional. Taxes unconstitutional. None of that was supposed to be a part of the United States. Going back even further, royalty, unconstitutional, a violation of divine law. Royalty, to have a hierarchy where humans are presenting themselves as a higher class than other humans, violation of divine law for a long, long time. It's actually come out that the King James Bible was the first version of the Bible that did not include anything about this. And it's probably no coincidence that it was written by or assembled by a king. So they basically conveniently removed all the parts that forbade someone being a king and a ruler over other people. Now it makes sense why that would be forbidden by divine law, because look at the mess we're in. This is really where it all stems from. It's that power over others. It's the selfish gain over and the disregard for others, and that has been the disease that has infected society for a while now. I don't even know how long, but for long enough for them to get.
We're getting really ugly now.
It's getting
Everybody's
ugly.
getting more and more ugly. Yep. Everything is ugly. It's all angry and living dead and seeing it more, but it just is.
Everyone's obsessed with zombies. Ironically, like the Waking Dead show, and just the zombie lore, just everything zombies all over the place. Zombies.
Agitated.
Well,
people.
What's that?
Most people are just agitated.
Right. Well, most people are asleep. They are zombies. That's why they like watching zombies. Want the zombie movies? Yeah, because we are zombies. They eat flesh. Just the same as zombies. I mean, and that's a whole nother trick they played on us to get us to, think that that's what we're supposed to be doing, is killing animals, eating them. That's a huge injustice. And unfortunately, the animals can't really speak up for themselves. And so that's why they're able to get away with it. We usually don't see the farms where they pack the cattle in. They have no room for their entire lives, or the chickens have no rooms, or the chickens have no heads. Genetically modified animals. I mean, it's happening, and that's because of this addiction to the bottom line. As long as it sells, I mean, beef sells, right? So they're going to continue producing it, and as long as we're just buying it and buying into it and believing that this is what we're supposed to do, is eat the flesh of animals who were tortured, that's what we're going to do. And that, even just that in and of itself, is causing a disease in humanity, where we're eating all this really bad food that has a lot of sort of sickness imbued into it, and that's what we're getting. And then we're asleep, you know, we're docile, we're just taking in all these zombie movies and working the 9-to-5 lifestyle where, you know, you work all the time. All you really have to do, all the energy you have by the end of the day is just to, you know, drink beer and watch more zombie flicks, you know. So you're just, it's a constant cycle. It's like Groundhog Day. Only people, you know, usually aren't waking up out of it. They're not realizing that they can change their pattern, they can change their paradigm. And most flat earthers, most truth seekers that are genuine, do realize they can change their paradigm. And this is really what I'm inviting us all to do here is really just, let's just change our paradigm. We don't need to exist this way anymore. Let's focus completely on what we do want. Let's focus completely on the alternatives that we have available to create an entirely new society. Let's create an entire new science. Let's create an entire new entertainment industry where people who are entertaining and valuable in that way do get paid what they're worth, and they don't have to sell their soul to some corporate monster or the devil himself. You know, we can be rewarded for our honest contribution of content and entertainment and discovery and experimentation and study. You know, this needs to be rewarded. And so again, this is I'm one of my projects, Zetetic Reality, is geared towards that, towards really rewarding people for helping to discern the truth and what is truth and what is fake and what is false. And I have Zetetic coin as another coin I'm working on that is geared into that. It's tethered into the truth. And those who do the most work to help establish the truth are rewarded with the Zetetic coin. And this can also be the place where this truth is housed and where you can find it. But this would also be a decentralized network. So that way, if you know they shut down Zetetic Reality, then it's going to pop up over here somewhere else. And it's mirrored all over the place. So that way, they're not even going to try to shut it down because it's just, you know, it's going to be too prominent and it's going to be mirrored and spread and distributed. And here we go. This is what we could do right now. See? What we can do right now is, well, soon I'll be launching Iron Coin as you'll be able to buy it. And I'm launching it out to all my family, my community, the people that I've been connecting with over the years. I'm going to be launching it to all you guys first, and the cheapest. And essentially, this is going to be funding all these projects. I've been working with a number of other very big names in truth and flat earth and crypto, and we're working on a number of various projects, and these funds will go to empower those projects to happen. And we're all gung-ho, we're all ready to go, so there's no delay except for that, you know, funding barrier, which just takes time. And I'm putting it out there, and I will continue to repeatedly put it out there. And I'll be launching this capability hopefully in the next couple days, where people will be able to actually buy it. So bear with me. I was hoping to get that today, but not quite. Things always take longer than I think they will. Other ways to get involved immediately, Discord. I and a number of others are setting up Discord as a way to be the new social network. You know, let's get off of Facebook. Let's get off of Google. Let's get off of Twitter, and let's use Discord. It's good enough, and it's actually better than all these other platforms. So you can't necessarily do videos with it, as in like put videos up like you can with YouTube. But there's other solutions. There's like Library is a cryptocurrency that basically allows. It's a YouTube, only it's decentralized and it's using blockchain. You can even make money with it in the form of library credits that then can be sold for Bitcoin or whatever. And there's all kinds of these solutions, and all of these solutions I'm actually packaging together into Ironcoin itself. So Ironcoin will actually be a framework that will enable people to build their own apps, their own social networks on these concepts. Decentralized, open source, but I'll make it easy. So Iron Framework will make it easy for people to just put together their own social network, their own website, e-commerce solution that then would be keen into the same network as what I've been building here, what we are building here. It'll be keen into the same cryptocurrency integrations. So you'd be able to trade things on your social network or your e-commerce platform. You'd be able to accept Ironcoin or Bitcoin or Ethereum from on your e-commerce. And so I'm building this to serve the people, essentially. And that's one of the main points that I really want to drill here, is that the main thing that distinguishes Ironcoin from every other coin is my intention. My intention is to ensure that Ironcoin becomes a force for good, becomes a solution that truly the masses want to get behind, because it is completely transparent, it's completely decentralized, autonomous, and open. And that way, it will act as a force for market stabilization. It'll act as a force for the decentralization of the internet and for all of our communications and all of our transactions. And it will represent the people in this endeavor. It'll actually be moving towards the decentralization of the government itself. For now, we are developing the tools to actually govern ourselves, because there's no reason why we can't. We have the ability to vote. You know, ask yourself, why is it in this day and age when, okay, there's 2 billion people on Facebook, let's just assume for a second that they're all individual people and there's no duplicate accounts, why couldn't they use Facebook as a voting mechanism? Now, I'm sure Zuckerberg would love to do that, but you know, the reason that most people wouldn't be behind that is because Facebook is centralized. But really ask yourself, why is it when we have that technology easily, you know, a solution? I mean, we already have solutions. We have voting solutions, or just the entire world can vote on something. So we don't need a representative system anymore. You know, the representative system made sense when we didn't have worldwide communication capability, and we weren't all able to just connect on the same platform and then place our votes. Well, we could have that, but why don't we? And then ask yourself why there's a documentary came out, Hacking Democracy, and they took one of these voting machines and they had a hacker break into it, and he realized, oh, there's a back door. There's a back door built into every single voting machine. Okay, he was able to manipulate the vote that voting machine output based on his ability to hack into the back door. Now, you think it's hard to hack an election? I mean, supposedly Russia and everyone else hacked this last election. You know, I think Trump and Hillary both cheated, and Trump just cheated better. And that's pretty much what it comes down to at this point. It's not about transparency. It's not about, you know, who knows how many people really voted for Trump or Hillary. Maybe not even enough to put him in that position. It's just, you know, they probably cheated better. And so with that information, I mean, this documentary's been out for at least 10 years. We've known that the voting machines are corrupt. Why are we still voting that way? It doesn't make any sense at all. It defies all logic. And then simultaneously, we have the ability for people to vote. And let's just take a collective poll right now. All the citizens of the United States, who do you want to be president? You know, and then why do we only need these few options? You know, sure, they're going to do the most work to campaign, yada yada. But what about this other guy over here who isn't a multi-millionaire who can't afford to compete with that? But he's saying some really good things, and he has some really good ideas. Why don't we all just vote for that guy, right? And let's just do so in this open platform where we can all vote at the same time. It's transparent. Now, problem with this, the challenge with this, and the reason why they'll argue, oh, well, we can't do a voting system like that, because people will go on there and create duplicate accounts, as if there's no double voting going on with the current system. But let's just say, all right, so that's the problem. That's the challenge. So that is what Ironcoin is also solving. And the way it's doing that is through, now don't freak out, but through biometrics. Biometrics is not this evil, you know, mark of the beast trying to cashless. It's not some evil thing. It's, again, it's technology that can be used however you use it. And so biometrics is really just, you know, using some completely unique identifier about yourself to verify that you are who you say you are, and that you're not also creating a double account somewhere else. Because, you know, if you,
Aaron, can I ask you something?
Sure.
And hello everybody. Sorry I'm a little late. Okay, when you're talking about bio that way, are you talking about as in using your blood? Or using your, how would that work? A piece of hair? Like, how would that work exactly?
Well, biometrics,
for an identifier.
Definitely none of those that you just mentioned.
Okay, I don't get it.
Fingerprints.
Hi, Marlena. Welcome.
Hi, honey. Thank you.
Fingerprint is the easiest way to do biometrics. So when you put your finger, you know, now I even know the new iPhones are even coming out with that, where you just touch it with your thumb and there you go. You have fingerprint, and that's pretty secure, right? Well, there's a number of technologies. You can use eye analysis. You can use voice analysis. And then there's this newer one, which actually has been out for a little while, but no one's really using it yet, which is basically the accelerometer on your smartphone is so accurate that based on the way you hold your phone, just holding it there, there's these little subtle things that you do that each individual does that's like a fingerprint. And so now to unlock your phone, to unlock your wallet and your vault, your iron vault, you would just hold your phone. It would say, hold your phone. All right. And say, hold the phone. And then you're in. And now you're a unique individual. If you go on, you try to create another iron wallet, you can't, because it would notice that you already have an account with this biometric signature. Now, here's the thing, and this is really important to understand and for us to implement, is that no one has central access to that information. So the only person who would have access to that information would be the one who can unlock that vault with that signature, whether holding the phone, voice analysis, eye analysis, whatever. There's no central authority. I would not have access. No one would have access to your data, your vault. And that is key. And that is also applies with voting, for example. Like, you know, doesn't mean, like, no one needs to know who voted for what. That's not right. It should be anonymous. But you do need to ensure that people are not double voting. So this is the way to do it. And this would be the way for us to do a lot of other great things. For example, you go to the airport, you show them your driver's license or your passport. Now they know your name, your address, whatever else about you. This random TSA person, you have no idea who that person is. That's a breach of privacy. So better way to play that is to incorporate it with this secure biometric system where now your identity can be verified. You can verify that, yes, I have a ticket to be on this plane, but you don't need to know who I am. And that could be all across the board. That could be in all these various places. And so what the central government and the central banks and what they're trying to get us to do, and this sort of is what we should be worried about, is they want us to RFID chips, and now they have access. You know, they want us to sort of give over that freedom over to them in all these various ways. And so what's constantly happening is is invasion of our privacy just because, you know, a bank needs to know our social security number. Well, isn't that an invasion of privacy? I mean, I don't want to just share my social security number with anybody, right? You can do things if you have somebody else's social security number. And so it's things like that you know, they're trying to get us, like even giving us a social security number is part of that agenda of getting us into their own centralized systems. And then they want to use biometrics there, but that's because they want to tax everything. They want to be able to audit everything. They want to see every transaction. They want to see every word that you speak. And ideally, they know every thought that you have, because, you know, they're selling all that information, first of all, because they're a private corporation. You know, our government is not a government. It's a private corporation. And so they're selling it to other private corporations, all of our data, all of our private data. And then they're using it against us quite often. And they're making us dependent on it quite often. So it's hard to exist in this world without a bank, without a bank account. It really is. You know, how do you buy things online if you don't have a Visa or debit card or MasterCard? So that is their agenda. They're trying really hard. They're trying to get people to switch off of Bitcoin and go over to Bitcoin Cash, because Bitcoin Cash is centralized. They can have complete control over it. I'm sure there's a backdoor in that thing. And so now they would know every transaction, and that's what they're trying to do. They want to know everything. And these exchanges that are coming up for cryptocurrencies like Coinbase, they recently got all these sort of threats from the IRS, and eventually Coinbase says, all right, we'll let you in. You can audit everything. So now the IRS has full transparency into Coinbase. Everybody who's paying in and out of Coinbase now, it could be very well audited by the IRS. Something very important to know. You know, I don't think you really run a risk unless you just have many tens of thousands of dollars that you're moving in and out of there pretty often. But it's good to know, and it's good to understand that this is what's happening. There's a few wars going on behind the scenes. One of them, obviously, is the Flat Earth War. We all know about that pretty well. But the crypto war is another one. I'd say the crypto war is in full throttle right now. It's happening. There's so much manipulation going on. These central banks are shitting their pants. They don't know how to handle this situation. They're doing the best they can to maintain control, but they see that control slipping, and so now they're just pulling out all the stops. I think a lot of these false flags, a lot of these things are just to distract us, and who knows, maybe messages to the rest of their cabal to take certain action. Who knows what? And then the science war, you might call it, which is really the flat Earth thing. It's, you know, is it true that we've been making false assumptions and that our science is based on these false assumptions, so therefore it's not proper science? Is that we didn't properly employ the scientific method? Yeah, that's true. We know that's true. It took us a while to figure that out, but now we do know it's true, and that's a battle. And now, so they're pulling out all their stops to inhibit that from blowing up, and it is blowing up. So now they're getting really afraid too of that. I think they're more focused on the Bitcoin problem, which is actually good for us, because what we can do is we can step in here right now and we can really blow both of them up in a good way, where we're really just pushing for disclosure. Very well, I don't know if we need to push for disclosure, but we're putting pressure on NASA, these various organizations that are perpetrating these lies, and then we are supporting the systems that we want. So these new ideas of like scientific platforms, they'll be documenting all of our discoveries, all this crypto stuff, you know, and huge lover of Bitcoin and the idea of Bitcoin. But one of the biggest reasons that I'm stepping in right now with Ironcoin is because I'm seeing some potential problems with Bitcoin. You know, Bitcoin is having some scaling issues. It's kind of expensive to do transactions right now. And there are a number of accounts that were stemmed from the very beginning of Bitcoin that are huge, as in they would be worth trillions of dollars right now, and they're untouched still, which means that that could be, you know, that could be a central bankster. That could be, who knows who that is? We don't know who that is, and because of that, that's a big problem. Someone could kind of basically come along, and all of a sudden they own quite a good percentage of Bitcoin. Now they could manipulate it. Now they could even hack it if they were so inclined. And because of that, you know, I think it's really important that we establish our own, where we don't have those kinds of problems of someone having too many, and that's what kind of helps with the autonomous part of it. Now, Bitcoin is open source code. It's very complicated code. I would say way more complicated than it needs to be. There's a lot newer projects that are making things much simpler and cheaper. That's another problem with Bitcoin, is that it uses this thing called proof of work, which is very costly as far as the mining resources. And so it just costs a lot to run these computers. And it's a waste of energy because you're not really accomplishing anything with all that processing power except for the secure store of value. But we have figured out other ways to do it without having to be so wasteful. So that's another huge problem with Bitcoin. And so seeing these various problems with Bitcoin, decided, all right, I'm going to create my own coin that solves these problems and will ensure that this is a solution. This is a viable alternative, a viable solution to the central banks, and would never be corruptible. And that's my main role in all this, is actually to not only just build it and get it out there, but also to ensure that it becomes corruption proof. And so, you know, I have some ideas towards that, but this is going to be a lot of the process of development as we really figure out how to ensure that as time goes on. And that's going to be in terms of self-governance, in terms of transactions and store of value, but also in terms of our own private data. You know, the massive WikiLeaks that have come out showing that all of our private data is being sold to the NSA. Well, that's a problem we shouldn't be having, and so let's fix that problem. And this is, again, a way to fix that problem. And again, it's, you know, I won't have access to your private data, and therefore no one will except for you. And that's the key here. And, you know, we really need to sort of like wake up and realize that these are problems immediately, because they have been, and they're growing as far as problems. And I would say, like, these days, right now, it's time for us to act. If we don't act now, it is possible that we could get shut down before we get too much momentum. Even me talking about all this stuff in this way in front of people and on a video that's going to go out, you know, that's it's pushing it, right? I am pushing it, and I'm pushing it because I don't want to see us. I want to see us succeed with this, and I want to see myself succeed, and my success is based on us all succeeding. And this has been my life's drive. You know, this is what has been pushing me through my life, is to do these things. And that's why I'm coming out right now so strongly, because now is the time. And if I don't do it now, I might miss my window. And if we don't really start acting as a collective right now, coming together, organizing, putting funds where are necessary in order to make these things happen, then we might miss our window as a collective. And now it's not the end of the world, but what it could mean is we might have to go through a much bigger process of, you know, things might get worse. They very well might get much worse. If we put this out there, then at least we're giving it a voice, and we're giving it our best shot and we are setting ourselves up for success. If we don't come together on this and we just say, oh, that's a good idea, maybe later I'll start thinking about that. If that had that attitude, then it probably won't happen. And so that's why I'm again inviting us, everyone, to really see what you can do right now. Reach out to me if you have resource, skills, connections that you think would be valuable towards these endeavors. Please reach out to me. Let me know what you want to do, what you have, how we can work together. I am completely all about working together. I have been literally over the last 2-3 years been reaching out to truth seekers, crypto people, activists, anonymous, and reaching out, connecting people, trying to set people up, prepare people for the time that is quickly approaching where we all can come together and work together to solve these problems once and for all. So now our family, our children, and our children's children can actually have a good world to grow up in. To this point, it's pretty brutal. It's pretty ugly, and it doesn't seem like it's getting better. Now I do believe it's getting better. It's just the mainstream media is not reporting on how it's getting better. But I also believe that it's not going to just happen on its own, and therefore we really need to stand together, bring our voice out, start speaking our truth, and make it happen, cause it to happen with our minds, with our intentions, with our hearts, with our voice. It's doable. It's doable right now, and the only thing blocking us is our own selves, our own hesitations, our own fears. So let's fucking do it. You guys have any questions?
The time is now.
Time is now.
Thank you, Aaron, because I know that it's been hours of your life. You've been with teams, taking photographs, filming you, all this kind of stuff, working really hard. It probably feels a bit, do you feel a bit lonesome at the moment because it's such a big task that you've got to do?
Oh yeah. I mean, I've felt lonesome for most of my life, but I mean, honestly, I have more friends now than I probably have most of my life.
I meant with the project.
But on the project, yeah. I mean, I have people that could help that can't afford to help unless I can pay them. And I'm kind of in that boat too. It's like I actually quit my job like 6 months ago to completely focus on this, and I've been doing a lot of things. I've been completely devoted. I've done even since I left my job. I think I've probably done 4 or 5 documentaries. I've total done almost 10 documentaries. A few of them haven't made it out yet. Some of them won't come out till next year. But like, all of that work, I made it out to FEMA camp a couple weeks ago, connecting with people. We've been doing these meetups here in LA for 2 years now. And a lot of this has been geared towards ultimately these kinds of projects for me. However, you don't get much support doing this stuff. It's tough because most people don't have time, and they can't work for free, and then even I have been working for free, but I can't really afford to much longer. So that's why the time is really now for me, because I need to
I know it's really unfair, isn't it? Because none of us have much money.
And I know. I understand that. Which is a big part of why. What's that?
Well, it's the people that are doing it. It's big NASA being paid millions of pounds a day to lie to us and funnel it off of the walls and CERN and HARP or whatever it is they're using it for. the world, how's the world, and like you say, take us away from this aggressive state. Last few weeks they were sort of going through maps. Flag states you're at war. The flag states.
Well, yeah, and this is part of the war. They push us down into poverty. You know, truth seekers or truth presenters have historically been impoverished because that's part of the tactic. You know, they make it an unpopular view. They don't support it, so there's not like financial support behind flat Earth, and then you even have all these flat earthers that are attacking other flat earthers when all they're trying to do is just, you know, make a living while they spread this truth, and you know, and they're asking for money, or they're selling their products, or they're, you know, have a Patreon, and it's like, you know, that's another disruption. I mean, anybody who's saying that, you know, anybody who's asking for money for flat Earth can blah blah blah. I mean, that's just ridiculous. You know, would you say that to someone who's an artist, or someone who's making music or a film, or a scientist who's studying in a research lab? Like, everyone should be working for free? You know,
you know what? I've got a book up here called Two Hearts Are Better Than One, but there's statements at the end of each chapter. Chapters is you can have it all side and all the love side, and you can have the money. It's not money that's corrupt, it's the people who are corrupt. And be happy.
Right, and honestly, it's not even most people that are corrupt. It's these corporations that corrupt people, and a lot of people start out non-corrupt, and they become corrupted because that's the way you operate. That's why everyone else is operating. So might as well just go with the flow, or so they think. They don't see how detrimental that thinking is. But honestly, I do believe it's the corporations themselves that are really the problem. You know, and so that's why a big part of what I've been working on is money, how to make money, how to generate money from other areas. That's a big thing that led me to crypto, and that's something that we can do. Like, this is something I've been talking to a number of people about, building up some momentum here. I have a group of people that we're going to be on Discord probably every day, and we're going to be learning how to trade. We're going to be talking about what's going on in the crypto markets, and we're going to be coordinating on these trades so that you can come in with any amount of money, $5 even. You come in there, you start learning how to trade. It's a real thing. You can make money
Hey,
from trade.
Aaron, who said it was ever going to be easy? It wasn't going to be easy, was it?
Oh, no.
I mean, look how much they've lied to us to create the ball and keep the ball. So it's never going to be easy, is it?
What?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
I was just saying, it's not dead easy. It's not going to be, the path opens up and there you can walk straight in. You're a very determined person, and we very much appreciate everything you've done to even put some future. Because everybody's arguing in the now about the past or whatever it is. We need something put in place. Because my son asked me that. What happens if we woke up tomorrow morning and it's flat? Everybody says it's flat. Then what happens? And this is what you're talking about. You're talking about other ideas, other ways, putting things in place. And along the way, you might change a few things. And we've seen your site, the Lumen project. It's amazing.
Oh, it's about to get better.
Can you put hey Aaron, can you put your because I also use Discord. I used Discord for quite a while. So if you could put your Discord link in the back chat for me, sure. I'll gladly join your channel also. But you know, I say this all the time to people. Okay, now you know the Earth is flat. Now move on to the next thing, because instead of sitting there arguing to people saying this is why it's flat, you know, just stop doing that now. Now it's time to do the next level. You know, there's no sense of staying in an area in your life where you're arguing with somebody that it's flat. You know the truth. Everybody that knows the truth knows it now. Now, like how you're saying, how you're getting together a type of currency. Other people should be thinking about their future also in different ways. You know what I mean? instead of focusing and using all their energy on trying to prove to somebody that's very narrow-minded or closed-minded why the earth is flat. Their truth will come to them. Because I've watched this all my life. I've watched people wake up all my life, you know. And this year was, I think, the biggest wave that I've seen wake up was this year. You know,
grew up knowing we were flat. Her whole culture is you're on a flat plane. She's lived the life we like dream of. They know it's flat.
Right, yeah. Well, and I agree. You know, I mean, I've been awake to that for a while. I've definitely agreed that this year has been monumental. Things are exploding right now. For people waking up and just for the flat Earth realization to get out there through the media, the mainstream channels that it's been on. I think someone just described me recently as I was thinking post-globe before flat Earth. And that's, you know, I like that description of how I am thinking and what you're talking about as well is this post-globe thinking where essentially now that we know the Earth is flat, what do we do? And this is also why I'm addressing this group as well as just the flat Earth in general with this information, is because we're the ones that'll do something about it. You know, everyone else is just too busy being asleep. They don't really see that there's problems. Or maybe they're into conspiracies, but they're kind of intellectual about it, and they're all paranoid, and they don't really want to come out. I mean, this is one thing that I've experienced personally, is that with the flat Earth realization, and really just over years of kind of dealing with it and working with it, looking into it, I've come to the point where, oh, there's no reason to have any fear whatsoever. All of that is a psyop. Fear is a psyop. You know, yeah, if someone's attacking you with a knife, you should probably run the other direction. Other than that,
yeah, because fear is their currency. You know, I say that every time I'm on here. Fear is their currency because they can make all the money they want.
Right, and that's how they keep us enslaved into their currencies, is through fear. Because, oh no, I don't have the money to pay for rent, right? Then I'm in fear, right? Now I'm afraid of what? I'm afraid of being homeless? Okay. So what is my fear there, being homeless? Like, is it being out in nature or outside? Like, is that my fear? You know, is maybe not having enough food? I mean, all of those, it's like those fears go down the line. And so most people don't even make it to the homeless part because their fear prevents them from that. But I'll tell you, I have been homeless, and it's not intrinsically as bad as everyone says. Actually, I was pretty happy when I was doing it. I was even doing it more purposefully. I mean, it wasn't totally on purpose, but it was, the way I was doing it was free. It was freeing. It was liberating. And there are some people that are just very liberated. And actually, you can be more liberated when you're homeless than when you have a home. Now when you have a home, you have all these bills. Now you're logged in to the societal system. Well, nature takes care of us. That's why it's there. That's how it's set up. There's more than enough nature to go around. And so nature was sort of engineered to be abundant and to be the only resource that we really needed. We didn't need money or things that were man-made, and that, we don't really need any of that stuff. That's all extras that we have convinced ourselves that we need. And people become dependent on those creature comforts, which I'm not saying anything wrong with, but it's important to be aware that this is like, this is a fabricated, imagined fear, and all of them are. And so there's really, and Flat Earth, for me, has really woken me up out of that. I saw how even space, the idea of space, and that we're flying through this empty void vacuum that came from nothing, just random explosion. It's pretty freaky, it's scary. And there's all these sci-fis that are based on just, the scariness of the empty space. What if it's not just empty space? What if there's a lot more going on than we understand? And what if, and of course we know that there's, it's not a giant vacuum like we were sold. And so all of that is like, you can see the mechanisms of control. There's another reason why they might lie about the globe, is to get us, now if we're just spinning on this ball in this void, and we could run into anything at any time and just be destroyed, or something could run into us. And now here's all these, like, every week there's something that might run into Earth, according to NASA scientists. You know?
It's sad, really. Especially seeing people being the more people I talk to about how they were brought up and how they, live that way. It's just sad to me. It's sad in the way of it ruins somebody's spirit, for living that way all the time. But since people like you that are coming out with stuff like your own cryptocurrency and stuff, maybe some of these programmers can start their own servers and we can have our own internet instead of having to pay, the powers that be for internet. Maybe somebody in this kind of mindset will have our own little thing going on, so that we don't have to pay out to whatever these big companies like Bell or wherever people use. I don't know what you guys use in the United States, but I think that would be a good thing too, because I really don't see the reason for us to have to pay for things like that,
right,
for money. Because here in our community, we don't do a lot of that stuff. We take care of each other.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And again, it's all, I mean, technically it's all voluntary. So we are voluntarily paying for everything. We're voluntarily putting ourselves in the situation where we have to pay for everything, and that we have to use the petrodollar to do so. And even though it seems like it's mandatory, it seems like we don't have a choice, the reality is we do have a choice. And so, like yourself, like I lived in nature for a while. I mean, that was what I did really when I went homeless. I lived in nature. I camped, and I did that for long periods of time. And it became to the point where it wasn't. It was great. it was a much greater lifestyle than even where I'm at now, as far as living in a city, in a cube, where my mind and consciousness is constantly restricted. I hardly see trees or plant life, and the life that I do see is zombies, just sliding around, just trying to eat other zombies, I guess. I don't know. And so it's just this kind of disheartening experience, really, compared to when I lived in nature. And nature is very nurturing, and it's there's a lot of energy that it gives you just being there. You're very grounded, and this is what I came to realize, is like I went out to nature and I realized, oh, I need to show everyone else this. I need to bring this back, and this is really what I'm doing. I'm doing it through technology, and this might be a hard concept to understand, but that's why you need to think about it and ask me any questions you have, because it's really important to understand that nature is, humans are natural, and what we create is technically natural. Now, humans have the option of sort of doing things that are good for others or not so good. And because of that option, technology, which is a tool, can be used for either one. Now, I see that we can use technology as a way to reconnect with Earth, to live sustainably and in harmony with Earth, with each other, and we can ensure that this problem never happens again, where we won't be corrupted again. My theory is that this has happened before. We've gone down this road before. We've declared independence before. We've achieved independence before. But because we didn't have it written in stone, because we didn't have it in a system that was established and that could not be corrupted, it was corrupted. And then the real original documentation of the intent was lost. And so now we have other tools, we have other technologies that will enable us to create something that is lasting, that ideally would be unbreakable. And it's like Bitcoin. The only way you could really hack Bitcoin is if you had 50% of the mining power, and then you were able to say, oh no, this isn't the blockchain. Here's my version. Here's my corrupt, my fake version of the blockchain that shows that I have $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, right? So that's
Aaron,
why you would want to hack it.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
I have a question for you. First of all, when it comes to Mother Nature, you know, if you take care of her, she'll take care of you. You know, we do that basically every day. You know, like you plant that seed, she's going to help you grow that seed. But as for your currency, what if, for instance, your mainframe goes down, or there's a big power outage where everything is in, or what have you? What would happen in that case? Do you know what I mean? Like, say that there was no electricity. Like something happened where there was a huge power outage along that whole entire grid, where your currency, where you have your mainframe computers, etc. What happens at that point, if you catch my drift? You know what I mean?
Sure, yeah. I had addressed that a little bit already.
I know I
earlier.
came in late, so I apologize to everybody. I'm late.
But no worries. But basically, if the power goes down, we have a lot of problems.
Can I say it, Aaron? Aaron, I'll say it. He doesn't reckon the electricity will be down very long because they need the electricity with all the things to control us, television, the news. They need all that on to control us. Without that on, the people will start waking up.
I understand. I mean, we had no electricity for 3 months here last year because we were under a state of emergency. So this is why I asked, because I've been in this situation.
Right.
Yeah, it was because we had an ice storm here, and it was horrible. You know, there was no control. They had no control. They couldn't even keep up with, you know, people. Yeah, it was ridiculous. But yeah, that's the only reason why I asked, is because I've been in that situation where everything was down. We couldn't get to money in our bank accounts. You know, we couldn't help like that way, you know, to get out of here because there was no way. The phone lines were down and we were basically at zero. And it does happen. And it was 3 months. Yeah, it's a long time. You know, about to pull your hair out.
Yeah, no, I mean, that is a real concern. A lot of people have had it, and it's genuine. I mean, it's you know, it's important to look at, think about, and you know, I agree with Karen. Like I was saying earlier, I don't think they will shut it down for that reason, that you know they're dependent on it, and they're dependent on us being enslaved to it. But these technologies are working towards solving those problems. So there's been a number of projects that are geared towards creating a decentralized internet. There's been, of course, all the decentralized currencies, decentralized store of data, private information, passwords, all this. And now the way the blockchain works is that as long as it's been duplicated and copied a lot, then it'll be recoverable, and so will your accounts. So you don't lose your accounts. If they did a massive EMP, and I mean it would be almost impossible. And this is what I was saying too, with like how Bitcoin, to be hacked, you would have to own like half of it. Well, that's almost, it was feasible at a certain amount of time, at a certain point in time. But now it's pretty much impossible. It'd be possible for any one individual or party or group to own half of Bitcoin or half the mining power of Bitcoin. And so then it becomes harder and harder to hack. And at this point, I'd say it's impossible to hack and getting more impossible. And the same is true with Iron Coin and all these technologies around that, where basically it'll be corruption proof. the more support, the more the community builds and the network grows, the harder it will become to be corrupted. And we'll get to a point where it's done. It's incorruptible. It is the basis of our communications infrastructure. It's the basis of our currencies. It's the basis of all of our, it's basically like an operating system, an online operating system that would be decentralized. And so instead of using Windows or Mac OS, which all have backdoors, by the way, confirmed, we would be using a decentralized operating system that would ensure our privacy, ensure that our secret information is secret and private, and also ensuring that the internet is distributed rather than centralized, ensuring that if something were to go down, something over here goes up. It's called high availability. It's called redundancy. It's very doable in the technology world. And I'm going to do it. And this is all part of Ironcoin. It's going to be the best coin possible because I intend to make it so. I intend to bring in the greatest minds possible. I intend to, this isn't about flat Earth, really. It's about these technologies. Now, I'm making an Ironcoin, and there's the FE reference, so that it's going to help that endeavor, and that's just a part of how I've been operating in general, of just trying to get the message out there to groups that aren't aware of it yet. I've turned a lot of people in the cryptocurrency world onto flat Earth, and I've been trying to turn a lot of flat earthers into working with cryptocurrencies. But ultimately, this coin stands on its own, and it will be a technology that will solve these problems, and it will give us an alternative to use. It'll be something for us all to really get on board with. It won't have a huge amount of unknown accounts that people have all this coin that they're not using. Who knows what they're going to do with it? It won't have unknown origins. I mean, that's another thing. Like Satoshi was, who knows, a mystery character. He wrote the treatise, and where did it exactly come from? And there's some knowns about the creation of Bitcoin, the code, but it's still pretty obscured in mystery where it all came from. Well, Ironcoin, no mystery. It's me. I'm the one doing it. You know my name. And I haven't put my name out there without reserve for this reason, because I want people to know who I am and what I'm doing, and I want them to be able to trust me. I want to present enough of myself that people really start trusting me and that I have the best intentions for everyone concerned. I'm going to drive this organization and every sub-project with this intention, and I'm going to push it until I'm successful and even beyond. Really just until I can basically step away, knowing that this thing is autonomous and it has a life of its own, and it's a good being. It's going to be a good entity that will help us to solve these problems immediately and ensure we don't have them again. And think about it: if we had a viable alternative to, let's just throw out a few platforms like Amazon and PayPal and Google and Facebook and YouTube. All right, just take those 5 platforms, and then we throw all of those into Ironcoin, make it so that you can have your own version of that, and it's all built on a decentralized, taxless, feeless system that is corruption-proof. What are we going to do? Are we going to continue using PayPal and Amazon and all this? Or are we going to start using these things where now the creators of the products and services, the creators of the content, they're getting the money, they're getting the value, they're the ones with the value, they're the ones that get paid the value. And that's how it should be. iTunes gives the content creators like what, 9% or something ridiculous, and that's, I mean, the music industry is the worst in this regard. I mean, if you're if you're a songwriter and you write a song for like Taylor Swift or something, you're not even guaranteed you're going to get paid anything. I mean, the only guarantee is if you go in there if you have the legal paid documentation set up to ensure that this is your, they'll just screw you every which direction, not have any reservation about that. And then, who are the ones that make it to the mainstream? They're the ones that are willing to puppet the narrative that is sold to them. And if they go out of line, like Kanye West, he starts going out of line, and then all of a sudden he's in the hospital, comes back, and he looks like a zombie all of a sudden. No surprise, he started going against the cabal's wishes, or the puppet masters, string pulling. You can't do that, but we can, because we're not tethered to those strings. Especially now, we have freed ourselves from those puppet masters, and now I'm completely off script right now. They are not controlling my voice, and so they would probably prefer that I wasn't saying these things, and that we weren't doing these things. But tough for them, and good for us, because ultimately we have this power. We can make these decisions right now to just change the entire paradigm. Doesn't have to take a long time. By us doing that, by us taking the stand, by us sharing our voice, by us helping each other, by us coming together, we are showing them that this is what we're doing. We are showing all the world this is what we're doing, whether they even see it or not. This is how it works. The subconscious mind is everywhere. Everyone's connected there. So we are, our actions are making it through the mainstream news. It's just the subconscious news. And so what that means is it's going to take a while to trickle to the surface, but it is, and it will. And so really the main thing here is just, let's come together and help me to help everyone, so that we can have these viable alternatives. And as soon as we do, we're done. Show's over. But if it takes me another 10 years to put all these together, because I'm constantly doing every single bit of it myself, that's what I'll do. Honestly, I'm on board for that. It's just not my preferred method or timeline. So please help. I don't know if I have anything else to say. I'm sure I could think of things to say. But does anyone have any questions or comments or ideas?
I still sound like a robot.
Yeah, you do, Levena. I've got a question. How is the coin going to have any value for the 26 million?
Okay, so here's how that will work.
Bit and Mortar.
What was the last thing you said?
Bit and Mortar is the name of the person.
Right. Well, the coin will have value as we attribute value to it, just like any coin. So what happens is you have what's called an ICO, an initial coin offering. You sell the coin for a certain amount of money, and then it'll hit the market at some point, hit the open markets. Once it does, people in the markets will trade. Now, what usually happens is people will trade, the price will drop, usually, in my experience. That's because people overestimate the value of it. And so that's why I'm actually thinking I'm going to start selling it at 10 cents per iron coin, which is putting a very low valuation on this entire foundation and organization. But I'm doing that because I want it to go up. And I want to give people like a really good deal in the beginning, the early adopters, everyone that's listening to this. The price is actually going to start going up as soon as I launch it. I want to do that to kind of put the pressure on people. And now I know, flat earthers aren't necessarily the most wealthy in the conventional sense, the monetary sense, but some of these crypto people, and I have been meeting people who do have the wealth. It's there. It really is there. And the people who see these same visions and have wealth are there. And that's who I'm really speaking to here. To really, and anyone can see this as an investment opportunity, because let's say you buy it for 10 cents in a couple days when it comes out for sale, then in a month it's gone up to 50 cents. That's because people are trading it in the markets. Enough people have it where it's starting to, go back and forth on the exchanges. Now you just made it. You could sell it at that point, sell however much you want, and you just made 5 times your investment. And so
people just have to, Aaron, it'd be a really good idea for you to put out just a short little video on a how to, because see, I understand the stocks and stuff. A lot of people really don't understand how that goes. It's like what people put in is what's going to come out of it. So, I mean, I think it's cool that you're attempting this, and I think it would totally work because, a lot of people are so, I mean, I have Bitcoin, for God's sake, I get it. I don't have a lot of money in it, but I think that, I mean, the perfect world for me is no money at all, right? Just because I think that my perfect world would be everybody helping each other when we need help. Like, living in a community, say if we all want to go somewhere, yeah, well, let's all go somewhere together. Not like we all have to pay thousands of dollars just to go somewhere for vacation. Stuff like that just gets to me sometimes, like how much people don't help each other anymore. Now, if you live in a community, my understanding was, I was totally off, because this topic, I really thought that it was more of a community that you were doing. I didn't know it was about crypto. Like I was thinking community as in, if there's a mechanic that lives in your community, well, then your mechanic can help you with something that's broken in your vehicle. Where there's a community where we live, where everybody helps each other just because we're human beings. You know what I mean? Not this, I'm not doing shit for you if you don't pay me. Like that bothered me just now when you said
helping. So yeah, to care about
it bothered me when that's right, to care about each other. And we teach that to our children today. We did a big thing with our kids, the 7 sacred teachings we did here, we did that with our 0 to 5-year-olds today. And it's so important to people remember to care about each other and to be kind to each other, because it bothered me a minute ago when you said that people won't help you unless you pay them. That's, to me, blows my mind.
Well, yes, and it does blow my mind as well. I mean, considering I've done most of the things in my life for free, and because of the intention.
Yeah.
But I also don't believe that I nor anyone should have to. It's unfortunate we live in the society where money is how it is right now. But I acknowledge that is how it is, and I mean, I would like to be able to pay people. That's really what it comes down to. Is I want to be able to pay people. I have gotten some work for free.
But I'm saying for people to know the potential, what you're doing, like what the outcome is going to be for people, just to, if they have that kind of a skill that you need, to just help now, because it will pay out later. You know what I mean? Like.
Oh, absolutely. No, I fully 100% agree with you, and I hope other people hear that, because that's extremely accurate and well put. Yeah, I mean, this is the greatest investment anyone will ever make, in my opinion, whether it's money or time, or help, however, basically. And also to address your first part was, this is a community. Now, I know I'm talking a lot about the coin, but this is all the basis of a community.
You have to talk about the coin, don't you?
Yeah, because I mean, can
I just say, Aaron, I don't mean to interrupt you, because I am interrupting you, but Bean Mortar's just got a couple of more questions about.
Oh, yeah.
He says, are there any other alternative coins that have a similar distribution model? The coins, ? Once you sell some, you would still be 90% holder, ? Working for someone and getting paid yourself in them. I plan to help support FE Coin. I'd like to know more about how the 26 million will be distributed. Aaron Keep ?
Well, my intention is to distribute pretty much all of it, except for a little bit to keep for myself. But no, I'm definitely not keeping 90%. Quite the opposite. I'm really going to distribute it out. I mean, my intention would be to distribute it all out, and so that I'm just getting paid in Iron Coin the same as everybody else. Now, again, Iron Coin is different than Iron Token, and the real beauty of this is in the Iron Token, where it won't be, it won't even really be mined in the conventional sense. It'll just be based on the number of people in the network, and there won't be transaction fees. Ideally, with Iron Coin, also there won't be transaction fees. And ultimately, you know, a lot of this is still in the works of how exactly it's going to work, but there is the coin already that I've mostly produced in order to be able to generate the working capital necessary to actually build the thing. Because, you know, I have no income from this so far. I haven't really had, I mean, at this point, Flat Earth has cost me thousands more than, you know, and I've made practically zero. So,
I'm sorry.
well, I mean, it's not anyone's fault. I mean, it's just I haven't really promoted myself the best, but you know, I'm not doing it for the money. I haven't been doing it for the money. It's getting
But I
to the
want to
point
say
where
something real quick to that. I want to say something real quick to that. For the people that try to do this and say, "Oh my God, they're asking for money," but you know what? These same people will turn around and go pay a fee to be on somebody else's website that probably doesn't do anything for them. I think, you know, people should support each other when it comes to this. If they see a Patreon, you have like $2 or $3, you can just, you know, help each other out. What's it, you know? To me, it's not about making money as a flat earther. It's about supporting each other as flat earthers, which is the big deal. You know what I mean? It's not about, oh, this one's trying to make money. It's not about that. It's about us supporting each other as a community. You know?
right.
It's a big community.
Right, and I want this to be.
Aaron, listen, we're so money orientated now, or we've gone the money way. It's almost impossible to ask you to provide a system that doesn't have money in it, that works, that we trade in. And the
Right
Bitcoin
now,
might be how you start, and over time, this Bitcoin Earth way turns into something else. You've got to go with the best way you can.
Well, and that's exactly why I'm talking about the transitional technology, where we are going to go from the current money system using Iron Coin to, we're going to transition over to Iron Token, where now you know, Iron Token isn't based on the same principles. It's based on just a medium of exchange, and you know, people trading goods and services. That's really all we need. So, but how do we get there? You know, it's like the Jacques Fresco and his what is it, Venus Project. You know, some pretty cool ideas, but how do we get there? That was always the thing I was wondering. Like resource-based economy. Oh yeah, here's the solution. We just get rid of money, and then just you know, have a resource-based economy. No, it's not going to work. People aren't just going to get rid of money. It's going to take generations for us to phase out this addiction to money. I have it. Everyone has it. So, you know, we can't just undo it overnight. Now, we can change our paradigm, and the way to change our paradigm is to adopt new alternatives that maybe will be leading towards a completely new paradigm, a completely new way of doing it. And that's really what I'm presenting here. That's what I'm putting together. Let's see. So I absolutely intend on doing more tutorials and just explaining how all this can and will work and how to get involved. And then again, I'm also working towards having some building a trading community that essentially, if you want money, if you need money right now, this is the way to do it. And there, yeah, if you want to invest in Bitcoin, you have some extra and invest in Bitcoin. That's another way to make some. But that's kind of you know, it's a little bit risky in the sense that, you know, Bitcoin does go up and down. Right now, I don't know if it's the best time to invest because it might come back down pretty hard. It's hard to say. But my point is that by having a team of people working together on that kind of activity, we can develop a really solid group funding engine. You know, And this is part of their secrets. This is what they do. I mean, they have their hedge funds that everyone's just trading in these different strategies, and they're all on the same boat, working together. And then they also have their robots that they trade. And I've been building a robot. I actually got the robot functional just 2 days ago. It's not making me millions of dollars just yet, but getting there. And but the point is that we'll be able to use that. This is going to be built into Ironcoin. There's a lot going on in Ironcoin, which is, and I don't want to overwhelm people with all the various pieces of it. More so, I want to show people. I want to show them what this is, and that's what I'm really working on right now is gaining the ability to show people what this is, all the various things it'll do, and get people excited about it, not just in our community, but all over the world with the crypto traders and investors. I want them to see this as, wow, they're taking all the good points out of every single crypto project, putting it into one, and this guy seems legit. This guy seems,
and a better alternative. You said it sounds like a better alternative, especially if you're not going to have this great big 33%. The 30%, what I'm talking about is the rate that they charge you to use certain monetary products. You have to pay them like the highest I seen was 33%. So you lose out on a lot of your own quote unquote money, which I think it's brilliant of you not to have a huge percent at all, right? Is there going to be how much percent do people have to? Okay, say if I was going to pay $1, how much percent goes to the specific Iron Coin? You know what I mean? Like to you as the company itself, because you are the company, the
right.
provider.
Right. Well, and then with that, all my the company's bills and budget will all be transparent, and I'm not asking for even a profit share, and the company won't be, because the ideal is that we can actually get down the transactions down to zero fee, as well as to exchange between coins on our exchange. We'll have our own exchange, by the way, and that will also be a zero fee exchange, because we will be able to make money from other places. We will be able to make our money from certain industries, like trading, for example, is one place we'll make money. Another place is just getting involved with various like logistics, supply chain. I've worked in those industries for a number of years, and there's a lot of money there, and rightfully so. That stuff is valuable, and moving food around the world is a very imperative, sustainable industry. So getting involved in there, and then we're taking cuts and commissions off of those kinds of things. Also be able to give money back to the customers and the members through a very very awesome affiliate network through this system of contribution. And this probably might seem a little confusing, but the idea is that you would be able to contribute to these projects, and if these projects come around and start making money or start generating a profit, you get a piece of that. And that's kind of a revolutionary idea, but the whole point is so that now you can sort of give freely, but you are rewarded for it, ultimately. And you're rewarded based upon how much you gave in relation to the overall contribution to a project. So it's basically, I'm taking the natural laws and I'm trying to code them out. I'm trying to put them into software and platforms that we can be using that will respect us as humans and alive, and respect that there's certain intrinsic needs that we all have, but then there's also the desire for us to come together, connect, communicate, and share. And that sharing can be at a content level where you're creating content and you're getting rewarded, or people see that as valuable, that's coming back. Like Patreon. Yeah.
Something. Can I read something? This is from a book, right, called Two Hearts Are Better Than One. So it's about relationships, but there's this whole concept of money and how we view it in here. So do you mind if I read it out? Because I think you'll like this.
Yeah, please.
A few minutes to read it. It goes, money is energy in motion. Money is a medium of exchange. Money, this is in a relationship, is usually a perfect mirror of the way you handle the relationship itself. Do you hold back in giving money to your partner, or are you generous? And it goes on like that. It says love and money tend to be separate in our minds, and we need to marry the two in our hearts. After all, the language of love have many common terms. To yourself is a question that can apply to your financial worth or self-esteem. How much do you appreciate or undervalue yourself is another question. You're already in possession of something more valuable than all the money in the world. Life itself. Life for $1 million, which means you're already a millionaire in self-worth. It's important to stop and acknowledge this. Your love of life itself, after all the other riches spring forth. Grateful for life, the more life gives you to be grateful for. Of all the negative thoughts about money, corrupts. Think about all the corrupt poor people and realize that corruption comes from within, not without. About it's better to give than to receive. Don't be surprised at your bank account at the end of the month. Your thoughts about money produce results about money. So make sure your results are constant with your heart's desire. If not, mind. Anyway, this is a bit about a relationship, but it is about money. Things are easiest when both people take responsibility for the whole, not just their half. This is true financially as well as emotionally. When one person can support the whole relationship, then you have the basis of becoming wealthier together. On earth, why a successful relationship, I know it's about relationships, but it's about money as well, should not also be reflected materially. And the world of matter need to be bridged, not severed. The material kingdom is not a distraction from the spiritual growth. It's an arena in which we both clearly measure our growth. That a couple who surrenders to the full expression of their personal union will eventually experience the benefits in all areas of life. You can really have it all together. So choose to play the love and money game as a team. It's talking about money in the way that you want. Not, money's okay. It's corrupt other things like organizations and people. The notes are getting smaller, so money's getting worth less anyway. Really another way to go forward. We still need to trade and buy things. And like you said, it might take years.
People are already using electronic money every day. His electronic money that he's going to be using, because it is still money regardless, could blow up overnight. It could become really, really huge really quick. I could see it in those checkout baskets you see on sites and stuff. Pay with this instead, of instead of paying the man, the big, the man or whatever, the powers that be. Instead of paying them their money, we'd have our own, where we know it's safe, where they can't just take, okay, we're taking this big amount of tax from you because you're buying this product, kind of deal. Look at it.
Yeah, there's not many people talking like Aaron, for instance, is there?
No.
How many people are talking of a way forward? There's hardly anybody. Everybody's talking about now and, okay, we can't see measurable curve and all these things, but there's no real ways forward. I'm so proud of Aaron.
Thanks, Karen. Yeah, I like that. I like what you read there. The quote from the Bible is, the love of money is the root of all evil. And I think that's true. And what you're describing is love and money, or your relationship to money. Or
maybe our emphasis is too much on money at the moment. Like everything's money orientated. We need to marry it back with what Marlena's saying, you're saying about, okay, put it in love, spirituality and that. And then once you do that, the money won't be worth what it was before.
Right. The money will just be a side thing. It'll just be a part of it. It'll be a natural. Money shouldn't be in the way. The idea that someone could have no money is complete. Yeah, that's just ridiculous. Like who made that decision? Like, money is imagined. I mean, to say you have no money is like to say you have no value. It's an affirmation that the society is saying, you are invaluable to, or you are not valuable to society. Well, that's completely wrong. I mean, I have a lot of skills I can offer society, and yet, unless I'm willing to be a slave for some corporation, I'm not making the money. Even like freelancing is the worst. It's so difficult because you don't know if you're going to get your money. And, people are so weird about money, about paying you on time or never, and there's a lot of challenges and that's kind of like the rogue way to make money, right? Because the easy
You're
way.
trying to offer a new, non-corrupt way of doing things as best as possible with what we've got.
Yeah, and developing the corruption-proof technology is the prime importance, and that's part of why too I'm not going to charge any fees. There's not going to be any fees here. The money. I mean, there will be some. Like, okay, if you went to one of these sites on the platform and you paid to be able to watch a video, right? And it wasn't my video. It was like someone else is on the network, and they're just doing their own pay per access for their videos. Well, where's that money going? Yeah, a portion of it does need to go to cover the cost of the server and all that, and then a portion of it is going to be going to the affiliate network. Was that person brought in there, the one who paid, let's say $10, was that person brought on by someone else? If so, we want to reward that person who referred that person, and forever. See, so now people are incentivized and building a network and bringing people onto this network, and that's how we grow this network really quickly. But then that content that was created, who created it? Who put that work together? That should be where the bulk of the money is going to. And do I need to get paid personally because that person did something? No, that's irrelevant. Now I need to get paid for the work that I'm doing, but that can be done through a nonprofit salary. That can be a result of the cost, a part of the cost built into it. So now we're talking like less than 1% will be pulled out for the actual organization. If that, because now if we're making money over in this other place, we don't need to charge anyone anything. It's kind of an offering that we can give, and that's how I would like to set it up, is where essentially, even if it was just voluntary contributions where people are just say, Ironcoin needs to raise, let's say, $250,000 a year to be functional, and that's what we have to do. And that's what we'll raise. And there's actually a site I found called, Open Collective. And they're actually doing something like that, where now it enables open source projects, software projects, to be autonomous. So I can set it up, and you have to actually apply to be a part of it. But I intend to do that with these guys. So now that I get Ironcoin and Project Lumen established enough to the point where it's a bustling open source community, I want to be going with this open collective and establishing it. So this is what we're using to keep our budget completely transparent. Here's how much we've raised, and then here's how much we still need to raise. Here's where all of that money is going. And then if I need to bring in a new leader to take my position and I step out, that's doable. It's autonomous in that way. It's not, I don't have to be there in order for it to work. It can be other leaders or no leaders even, where it can just be kind of automatically managing itself. And my whole intention here is, I'm not trying to be greedy. I know you guys know that, but that is my whole intention here, is to not be greedy, unlike every other corporation, unlike every other CEO or anyone who's creating an ICO, a new coin that they're trying to put out into the market. They're always trying to be greedy. That's why they centralize it. That's why they do profit sharing, and that's why they have various income streams that they can milk off of this one currency. And a lot of times they're even scams, and they're trying to be super greedy, where they're going to lie to you and tell you that this is what's going to happen when and then you pay all this money, and then they just cut and run, and now, and now you're going to be more hesitant to contribute to any ICOs in the future. Well, everything I want to do with this is to establish a certain confidence and faith that this is going to be an organization that serves the people. And so therefore, I am checking my own ego at the door. I'm not building this for my own selfish means and purposes. And I want that to come across completely. I want this to go on ad infinitum into the future, where it can act as the sort of the guardian of our own basic rights and equality, and I intend to stay with it as long as I need to in order to establish that equality and that mechanism for guarding our equality, for protecting us against the corruption of these oligarchies, and really standing up. Because here's my thing, all right? If you're Bill Gates or you're Elon Musk or you're Peter Thiel, whatever, you got so much money. You got so much money. You could just change the world in a moment. With a snap of your fingers, you could just say, hey, you know what? I'm tired of being a selfish asshole. I'm going to go ahead and give some real wealth back. I'm going to go ahead and enable some things to happen that are going to benefit the world right now because I have that kind of money. And who's done that? Who has done that? No one. I haven't seen this. There's no organization that's doing anything like that, really. And then, oh yeah, Bill Gates Foundation. No, give me a break. That's just for their tax breaks. Just came out, didn't it, that none of them are paying any taxes? I mean, you can look at some of these, like 3M, the corporation, that they actually get taxes back. They get income taxes back. Like, they not only do not pay taxes, they receive our tax money goes to pay these private corporations because they're so shady about how they evade their taxes, and they even just make it so they profit from other people's. It's crazy. And that to me just shows you how distorted and disturbed the corporate mentality is. And it needs to be stopped. And the way to stop it is for someone to come out and just say, you know what, I'm not going to be selfish about this. I will put my life's passion into this. I am CEO material. I'm CTO material, both combined. I'll do it. I'll run this thing. I'll drive this thing. I'll market it. I'll explode it. I'll get it out there. All the world will know about Iron Coin soon. And I promise you, I will never sell out. I will never, if Bill Gates came to me, offered me $5 billion for it, I would not take it, because this is not about personal gain. It's about integrity, and it's about demonstrating and doing the thing that should be done. Like, any one of these corporations should be doing this, but none of them are doing it, so I guess it's up to me, and that's how I have been thinking for a while. And it's kind of unfortunate that they're not doing it. It's really unfortunate because they have the ability, and so it just shows they don't care about us. None of these bigwigs care about us. I mean, who has the millions that they can spare that is doing anything like this with it? I mean, no one. It's all about even like, how can I use my millions to make me more millions? Which is true in this screwed up society, that you can, if you have that kind of working capital or liquid capital where you can be trading on the market with millions, well, you can make $1 million in a day sometimes if you have that. Well, guess what? So can we. So that's what I'm suggesting. We create this organization that's pure, it's all as can be. And it's going to be serving the people. It's going to be completely transparent and open. Also, at the same time, we create a little army. A little army that's going to be able to participate in this whole making money off of money phenomenon that is possible right now in this society. And that's the trading group that I want to put together, that I am putting together, that will be essentially working with various technologies, programmatic trading and all this, to be able to profit big time and develop our our balance, our collective balance, so we can really build up some wealth to be able to make a difference, to be able to even help to, like, a lot of these like banksters will come in and try to manipulate the markets. They'll put out some fake news about Bitcoin and how it's a fraud, and then as soon as it drops $1,000, they'll buy in millions upon millions of dollars worth of Bitcoin, and that's just complete manipulation. You know, they've been doing it all the time on the other markets, but the crypto markets are still small enough they can have a pretty decent impact. Well, so we act as a counterforce. We gather, so we accumulate so much wealth through this, and we use that as a mechanism to counteract this manipulation. So when JP Morgan, which is the one who did that, by the way, when he comes on and makes some fake news, you know, we counteract it. We start losing some money in our trading in order to maintain some stability within the markets. Whenever someone comes out with fake news, it doesn't matter what, you know, whether it's crypto related or flat earth related or whatever it is, we come out and we do all the evidence. We find all the sources and resources that relate to that bit of news, determining that it's fake, presenting that it's fake, and therefore like fizzling their power. Because their power is in, like, how long does it take for the internet community, the conspiratorial community, to actually break it down and determine that it is fake? You know, every false flag that's been happening like every week lately, that's, you know, it's pretty much now we're doing what is called auto hoaxing. We just assume every single shooting is a hoax, and that's a pretty safe assumption right now. And so essentially, you know, we can act as a force of good. And I believe that by me saying, all right, we're not going to take anything. We're not going to take any cut. Like, there's no profits here. And so by doing that, by setting it on that foundation, we are now saying, like, everything we do will be for the good of humankind. And therefore we will succeed. Therefore we will get traction. Therefore we'll get people coming on board, because their fears about, well, I don't know if I can trust this company. No, you can trust this company. This is the only company you can trust. And, you know, I want there to be other companies that you can trust ultimately, and we'll help to establish who can you trust, who can you not trust. You know, but I want to be that force. I want to be that driving, that vehicle that really helps people to know what's going on in the world, to be able to discern truth from falsity, and to have a platform where we can be communicating and trading without middlemen, without taxes, without these corrupt influences trying to control our minds, trying to get us to think certain ways that are not conducive to our health and to a healthy society. And then ultimately we're going to return back to nature, return back to you know, living in harmony with nature, sustainably, as far, you know, all the electrical grids, all the roads. I mean, nanotechnology is another word that people throw out in fear, but someday nanotechnology will help us return this world back to a beautiful place to be. All these roads and sidewalks are quite ugly. All these power lines are quite ugly. All these billboards are quite ugly. That's another thing I should mention too. There will be no advertising anywhere involved with this. Advertising is evil. And it's a way to, it's control, it's mind control, it's a manipulation, it's inequality, because when you do a search now in Google, what are the first 10 results now? It's like almost the first entire page is a bunch of ads. And that's all manipulation. You're trying to manipulate my mind into clicking on these. This isn't even what I was looking for, but you want me to click on this stuff? And then you're going to charge me.
Okay, so if you're not going to advertise, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but if you're not going to advertise, how are you going to get it out?
Well, I'm going to advertise Ironcoin, but I'm not going to advertise on the platform. So there won't be any, there won't be any advertising, like sponsors being advertised on there. There won't be any manipulation of search results, or you know, we won't be throwing commercials in your face. It'll be all commercial ad free.
Aaron, what would you do? What would you do if a big business came along and said they wanted to help you? Then what would you do?
Well, as long as they're willing to do it under the conditions of, this is going to remain decentralized, and that, the power structure. I mean, that's what's important. Is that my primary objective with it is to ensure that it gets through out to the people, corruption free, and therefore then can go on indefinitely, in that way. And so if they can understand that and they just want to put money, I mean, really the easy way for a company to get on board is to buy Ironcoin. And then if they have resources that they want to contribute in addition to that, then they can do that. And we can talk about it. And if they have people and skilled workers that they want to bring to it, then yeah, we can talk about that. But I'm not. This isn't going to be an equity situation. Part of my role is to be the active LLC member until it can become a legal entity that exists in the public domain, where now I no longer even have any additional power than anybody else. But until then, I will maintain the legal structure of it in alignment with the current laws of the United States, or wherever. I'm not even totally sure it's going to happen in the U.S., but probably at this point.
So say as well, Aaron, didn't you, that if anybody can help you or give other ideas, then to come to you. And your Lumen project web page is in the description of this, so people can go there and write to you and stuff. You didn't Lord and Master, and this is, this is a working process.
Right. Yeah.
This is the start. This is getting it going.
Exactly.
Another way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we'll be having Discord conversations starting probably this weekend, even just about this, how it can be done, and really, I mean, yeah, this is. I've got a lot of the technology figured out, and I have a lot of things figured out as far as limitations that we need to work with and within. But a lot of the specifics are still not quite worked out, and so that's why.
One thing, Aaron. What happens if say we woke up and the place was flat tomorrow? What happens if Marlena's people wanted to not exist in this and wanted to go back to the way she's saying, with trading differently, other? How does that work? Everybody just gets on with their own bit. Do you see what I mean? People could go separate ways in all this, couldn't they?
Sure. I mean, I guess I don't know if I fully understand how you're speaking, but if what
I'm saying is, what happens if Marlena's the Native Americans in Canada decide, hey, well, we don't know if we want to be in all that system. We were quite happy with the way we were laid out. We know what everything is. We've been doing it for thousands of years. Step out and go back more traditional, helping each other. Maybe they want electricity and things like this, but there's a lot of them that want to opt out of this system.
Well, it is already like that here, Karen. And we've also started with the turbines instead of using electricity made by the government. We've already just started doing that, so we can step away from all that,
And that is important, and it's all voluntary. So if you don't want to be a part of it, you don't have to be a part of it, and that's a huge part of this. And my hope is that we make it so attractive
and accessible, very accessible.
Exactly, very good. Yeah, that people just everyone that these natives want to be a part of it, and if we could help them to understand why they would want to be a part of it, because it would benefit them. Now, of course, they don't have to be, and I would never want to see.
Well, you see, the government messed us over so bad, right? So it's really hard for people to even trust the monetary system here, at all, because of even our GST rate, for instance. When you pay for something, we have the highest tax, if not in just Canada in our province, but in the world in our where we live. That's our taxes are so ridiculously high. Now, if we can find a different way of paying for things without having to pay all that bullshit, yeah, I know damn well people on here, they would be on board.
just got an idea. You know, we've got the death certificate. Well, if the old system was overthrown, there'll be millions and millions and trillions of this money somewhere to help out with everybody, and then this other system would work. Because there's already loads of money there, isn't there? Right
Yeah,
now.
I mean, how
It
much?
wouldn't be theirs anymore.
What was the last thing?
Anymore.
I still don't understand, but
I didn't understand it either. We just hear anymore.
We've got the death certificate, haven't we? That there's millions and trillions of pounds being traded on and used. Well, if the old system is broken, then somehow there's this money.
well, you know, the only reason they're able to get away with that is because people do it. I mean, it's just like the same with money in general or the cash. You know, as long as there's people using cash and accepting cash.
I found out the other day that they even do it on mortgages. So when everybody takes a mortgage out, they take a life insurance policy out on you, and then when you die, they get money that way. Yes.
Right. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I know. I mean, actually, yeah. I just kind of had to deal with some of that, and it's like my mom, my stepfather just passed away not too long ago, and he had bad Alzheimer's, so he was in the hospital for a while, and you know, they had like a pension, but she's now making less. She's receiving less now because he passed away. You know, and that's pretty ridiculous. I mean, they both work for the government too, veterans hospitals, nonetheless. You know, so here's the people that are just like helping the vets who are. That's a whole nother can of worms. You know, people who are traumatized by the military or the government, and you know, they're claimed that they're heroes, which they are in the sense that they went and their intention was right. But then they're poorly treated when they return and by our government. You know, here, okay, $600 billion a year military budget.
Your grandparents are like the first proper set of people that would have paid all their life into this system to have a sort of pension at the end. And when they get there, they didn't get what they paid into for all their life.
It's brutal. It's brutal to watch. And, you know, it's a great injustice. People don't even realize. I mean, whenever I've worked at a job and they start talking to me about 401k, I'm just like, shh. You know, I don't even want to hear it because, I mean, that's a complete sham. It's a complete scam. I mean, talk about a pyramid scheme. 401k. Jeez. You know, it's like they just get people to pay in their whole entire lives, and then there's even the possibility now that it's just going to be gone. You're not going to have any money by the time you retire. And even so, that the value of that money is just dwindling the entire time. Whereas, like, if you were to put money, I mean, don't put money in a 401k, put it into Bitcoin, because now your investment is growing. But your 401k, it's like, you know, that $400,000 is worth way less now than it used to be. And if you ever make it there, you know, and it's and you look at the value of the dollar and how it's just deflated. I mean, we're talking like
the UK right now. We're in a major recession right now. Everything is so expensive. It's even more expensive. But for them, it's not so expensive. It's more expensive for us because we're doing so badly because we're trying to exit somehow out of the EU. But this is all crazy how they're doing it.
And why? Why are you guys in a recession? I mean, what's the logical reason why that would be?
Because we've voted to come out of Europe, and there's a big thumbs down to us now. Boo, supposedly. But we know everything's a load of rubbish and it's all been set up this way. But right now and then of course the pound is almost $1, is almost €1. It's like they're waiting to get that one monetary thing. That's what they're trying to do.
Oh yeah, that's what they want. That's their agenda. They want the one world currency, and they don't like Bitcoin. Everyone's like, oh, Bitcoin's the one world currency. No, it's not.
Not perfect, but it's one way to give the money back to the people.
Exactly.
Somehow, whereas the other way isn't.
Right. That's the one world currency is how they would have control over everything, which they pretty much do. I mean, the petrodollar has been the one world currency. It really has been for quite a while. It's just it's not on like the surface presentation is, you don't realize that. But when you start looking into just where it all comes from, what it's all based on, it's all based on oil and the dollar price of oil. You know, that's what it's all based on. And anyone who challenges that, oh, they're a terrorist, and we're going to war with them now because they're, you know, this tyrannical terrorist. No, the tyrannical terrorists are the ones in Washington D.C. and these other, you know, all the Western state. I mean, it's just, yeah, it's so backwards, and they're really trying as hard as they can to especially right now because they see that Bitcoin is taken off. So they're trying to like just wrap their claws around everything.
Yeah, they're trying to get into it, aren't they?
Mm-hmm.
Trying to get a part of it. Banks, even in Bitcoins.
And I'll again read just the last part of this Thomas Jefferson quote. The issuing power of currency shall be taken from the banks and restored to the people to whom it properly belongs. That's it. You know, so how do we do that? We do that through this not just through blockchain, not just through cryptocurrency, but through this initiative. I mean, the founding fathers had to break away. They had to come together. They had to organize. They had to form these ideas. They had to form the documentation to represent. Now, Constitution, is that sort of written in stone? Kind of. Now they've been able to amend it and therefore screw up some things that have lessened our rights and freedoms. But there are still a lot that remains. So it was a pretty good job of writing it into stone. But now we have the ability to really write this in stone, and that is what blockchain provides. And we have the ability to communicate and connect in ways never before. All across, you know, there's no country barriers here. We're talking right now from all over the world. And so, you know, let's just drop all things imaginary. You know, national borders, imaginary. The idea that money is a non-renewable, limited resource, that's imaginary. The idea that we have to use this currency that was created by these corrupt, evil people, that's imaginary. You know, the idea that we have to continue on like in this state of like this, just the way it is. You know, I remember always growing up, and I always be like, this society sucks, and people would just always respond with, it's just the way it is. What are you gonna do? Well, let's fucking do something. Let's actually stand up and do something, because we can do something, rather than just, you know, accepting that we can't do anything and just sitting by. That's what they want us to believe. They're just a bunch of people. They're not gods. They're not our authority, you know, God-given authority. They're not anything other than just people. And actually, they're pretty shitty people, because they're really stepping on other people. They're trying to have control. They're very selfish. They're very evil and angry, and probably just, you know, miserable in their own lives. And I actually feel for them to that degree. I feel that, you know, they have locked themselves in their own cage, their own cell, based on, you know, their livelihood, their happiness is based on them having control over everything. And that's an impossibility in the physical realm. So they just need to drop that, and they need to join our side. And if they're not willing to join our side, then they're going to be destroyed one way or another. You know, and I'm not saying physically, I'm not saying death. I'm just saying that everything they've created that's been based on lies and control is going to be destroyed by those who are willing and wishing to create something that is based on equality and oneness. Bottom line. There's their bottom line. It's just a matter of time. You know, they're trying to perpetuate it. They're trying to stretch it out.
We're making it happen anyway, Aaron, because we're having this hangout tonight, and you're talking about it. It's already going into the, you know, out into the world one way or another. It's starting to, because you're talking about it.
That's right. That's right. And we have been talking about it, and this is just another phase of it. And, you know, I'm hoping to have some real solid things to present here by this weekend. And then maybe I could come back on here next week, perhaps, to really just walk people through it, and we can.
Sure.
That'd be cool. Yeah, because, you know,
what we Thursday today, right? Aren't we? Thursday next week would be good.
Okay, I think that'll work for me. Let me check real quick.
The
Well, that's
one thing
Thanksgiving,
you're picking
which
up on is that a lot of people just don't trust this monetary system. That's what it is. And it'd be really great if we had the magic answer that wasn't money but did the same thing.
right. Well, money is just a medium, so it's not that it's money. It's the problem isn't money. The problem is the petrodollar. The problem is the centralized money. You know. So yeah, we do have a thing. It's just creating the. It's really about building it. I mean, an initial thing is to choose to build it. You know, it's not going to happen unless we actually choose to build it. I've been working on it. I can't do it all by myself. So help me out here, people. Let's do this. I'm gung ho, obviously. So only thing that really stands in my way is the funding and the resource in general. Because I have some of the team, but I'm definitely looking for a lot more people that are even people who would be willing to just contribute their time. That's my
Maybe just a
greatest
little bit
desire.
more patience. That's all. Because, like maybe a year ago, there weren't like the Flat Earth Conference, Flat Earth Convention. You weren't here talking about it. I mean, in a sense, it's probably moved on rather a lot in a year.
Sure.
Because we want it now.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I've been doing this for years, trying to get this going, but now finally here I am talking about it publicly, which is great. It's just, I'm tired. I've been working on this for a long time, and so I'm excited to have it be coming out, but at the same time, I'm ready for a
Burnt out, are you, Aaron?
a little Iron Coin funded vacation. You can't fault me for wanting that.
Yeah, and even if you don't want to do it, you can't help it. You probably do it every day and you're just tired. I mean, I'm tired as well. You're doing it all the time.
You're doing it too, yeah. Yeah. And it's, I guess, especially with the being the content, I guess, of where we're living right now, I get insults every day. I do get compliments every now and again as well, but I get a lot more insults than I get compliments, And so that doesn't make it any easier. And then just the fact that, like, we even have flat earthers that are chastising other flat earthers for asking for money or hoping to get paid for what they are giving. I think that's ridiculous. That needs to stop. And I'll block anyone who starts talking about that any way I can.
You
Because
don't get
that's
chastised here, do you? Because we don't get chastised here. We are family.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a few other groups that I've been, getting connected with. I went to FEMA camp a few weeks ago, met a bunch of people, started connecting with IPS, and been still continuing to connect with him and the group over there. Really amazing people. They're very smart, very creative, and very active. And so they're very actively working on this reality show. Already started filming it, you could say, in the sense that it's basically going to be a compilation of a lot of live streams and even the whole process of us putting this together. But the reality show is going to be called Finding the Edge. And the idea is that we actually go to Antarctica and find the edge. So we've been talking about this, and then all of a sudden I get this call from this producer who's from a big studio out here in LA, who wants to put together a reality show on flat Earth. So I'm actually meeting with him and a few of his other, other producers tomorrow. So we'll see what happens there. But again, with that, and I've already talked to IPS and the others about this, is, we're not selling out on this. And so I want to establish it where, if these guys really want to get involved, I mean, they can buy some Iron Coin, but also just, they could fund us to do these things, but we're not going to do it. We're not going to turn this into the next Kardashians. It's going to be us. We're going to be genuine, and we're going to do what we're doing. And if they can be involved without getting in the way, then it'll work out. But that's one of my big things, is just So I'm going to really try to go into that meeting, try to have that attitude and that position, and which is the position I have with Ironcoin. If you're a big investor and you want to come on board with Ironcoin and you want to try to get an equity role, some chief position, forget about it. Now, if you're like really experienced in tech startups or ICOs and cryptocurrencies, then let's talk, and maybe you could be involved, and you could certainly invest in Ironcoin, and you could certainly help to make it great. But I'm not selling out. Nothing here is going to sell out ever. And that's really important for me to express, and for anyone that might be thinking that way to just understand, that even if it means that I'm more broke than I would have been, that's okay. That's part of my life's what I accept about my life. I'm not necessarily going to be this I'm not going to be a wealthy tycoon. That's not what I'm shooting for. I do want to be comfortable, and I do want to have a sailing boat at some point in time. Gotta have dreams. But at the same time, it's like I'm basically I'm the point person. I'll go into Sony production, Sony label, and I'll sell them on what we're doing, and I will turn down $1 billion check from them. I'll be that guy. You will
keep us abreast with what's happening with that, won't you? Then.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And I'm just saying this. There's a lot going on here. We're also talking about having a conference or a convention out in LA next year. Figuring that out, and wanting to actually fly people out here. I mean, that's part of my thing too. Is I want to have enough funds where all of our flat Earth initiatives are completely funded, or we don't have to just raise funds from flat earthers, because flat earthers don't have a whole lot of money intrinsically, and that's okay. But let's enable it so that we can all enjoy each other's company, right? So I want to make it so that we can actually create a conference that we're flying all the speakers out here. We're getting bulk deals on even flights out here and such, so that we make it accessible, we make it attainable for people to get out of here. And we'll make I worked at the Grammys for 2 years. I know how that works. Like a show of that caliber, of that nature, and maybe not all of it, but I know a lot about how that works, enough to be able to set up a big event. And I've worked with some other events as well, to know just it is a process. There's a lot of work that needs to go into it, but ultimately I want to do that. I want to make this like a yearly thing where people come back. Maybe it won't be in LA every year, but at least this next year it'll be in LA. And I want to make it huge, and I want to bring in people that aren't just flat Earth. I want to bring in all the crypto people. I want to bring in a lot of truth seekers who haven't quite realized the Earth is flat yet. So I want to have a much more diverse audience, so that we can, because like you said, if you went to the conference, it's like, okay, so you paid this money to go there to see people that you see all the time on YouTube say the same stuff they always see on YouTube. Interesting, kind of cool, but not really what I'm into. I'm really more into bringing large groups of people that have never even heard of this into it, and vice versa. So I want to have basically WAFCon, or Woke as Fuck Con, where just anyone who's woke as fuck, you can come to this conference, and there'll be something there for you, and you'll get more woke by going to this conference. And so that's the idea, and it's not just for our own little community or growing community, but also for people who are curious, or don't, it won't even necessarily be flat Earth centric, but you'll go there and you might learn something about flat Earth. You might learn something about cryptocurrencies. You might learn something about something totally different, and I think that would make it a lot bigger, and it would make it a lot more interesting for a lot more people, and it would really help spread a lot of this energy. And it's going to help give, I think, flat Earth more of a legitimate air about it, because if we start associating with some of these other things that are sort of more mainstream accepted, then people will start questioning it even more. They'll start, you know, looking into it just because Jeff Berwick started talking about it, or someone that's in the crypto scene started talking about it, you know, or who knows? I mean, yeah, the possibilities are endless. But these are a few of the other projects that are kind of in the works. And I think that we want to do the FEMA camp is going to be happening every 3 months at this point. I'm not sure where the next one is yet. It might have even said California. I don't know, though. Might be wrong about that. And that was really great. Actually, the FEMA camp was awesome. It was great. It was just art and music and just a lot of really cool people hanging out. The music and art was amazing. What?
Like a bit like a retreat as well.
Yeah, it was in this cool place. They like rented out the whole top floor of this building, and they had like the top. Yeah, it was like the top floor, and it was really cool. It's hard to explain, but I had a great view from there, and it was downtown Denver, and it was a lot of fun. And you know, they want to do a lot more things like that. Totally supportive of it, and and that group is very interested in connecting, you know, and joining forces with other groups. And that's where I really see my own position. You know, I want to be bringing these various groups together, like yours and IPS's, and I've been talking to Wakey Wakey for a while now. He's been on the crypto kick for a bit, and so you know, getting him on board, Mark Sargent, you know, just a lot of different mainstream flat earthers. All kind of have the desire to work together. So let's do that, right? And I think as we work together, we'll be able to be so much more effective, so much more quickly.
Yeah, it's all about coming together somehow, finding a different way. Can I just say, Aaron, that you have now been talking for 3 hours?
I believe it.
Yeah. Talk anymore? Do you?
I think I've said it all. I don't know if anyone else has anything, chat or you guys. Either way.
Chat's gone. Money. Oh, Skywatch money sucks. I hope Aaron. Hope things work out for him. Peace and love, sun and moon. Yeah, I think it's just because people. Yeah, money's just. Yeah, we're all poorer and everything costs more right now. Triggered
by the money. Well, then join me at this trading group. You know, that's something that is going to free us a lot pretty immediately. Just learning these skills to how to trade can really be a good tool, and we can work together so that we are all able to profit more. I've had weekends where I've made, you know, I turned one time like $1,600 I turned into $14,000 over a couple weeks through trading. You know, and then I spend it all, and so I have to do it again. But ideally, you know, ultimately, we're just doing that. We're just making these good returns, good investments, selling out when we need to. It's a lot of work to do yourself. I've been doing it myself. I've been learning from a lot of other people, and one of the main advantages that groups will do is form a group. And so that's what I'm trying to do here. And I have some friends that are very experienced in trading that will be part of this group. And then I acknowledge that most people will have no experience at all or very little. And that's fine. That's what I want. And I want this to be a huge group where people are just, you know, in it to help and make money. And, you know, let's not, and then we don't have to be asking each other for money. We're helping each other make money. And we're making the money from, some of these other, you know, hedge funds and trading groups that are, you know, they're kind of shisty anyway. So let's take their money, you know. And the whole open market system allows for money to be made this way. And there's a lot of groups that are exploiting that fact. And I'm just saying, why don't we be one of those groups? Because that way now we're doing something. It's technically honest. It's technically legal. And I can even show you how to do it without really having to pay taxes on any of the money you make. And then you know, essentially, and doing that legally, you know, and so therefore we could get ourselves out of a lot of these ruts, have a lot more funding power to make a lot of these projects happen. You know, for example, I want to get an interferometer. When was the last time we did the Michelson-Morley experiment? And, you know, from what I've seen, their data, there was movement measured. What was that movement? You know, we need to understand that. I can't believe we haven't done another interferometer as a flat earther. And so, you know, those things are like $3,000. It's not really that expensive. Let's get one, you know, but how are we going to do that with none of us have really much money? So let's get some money, you know, let's work together to get this program going. And I'll probably start that this weekend alongside Ironcoin, as far as starting a group where we're just getting together, starting to meet each other, and starting to talk about these things and how it works. Get everyone onboarded and in terms of how to do it and how to get signed up for the different platforms. And so yeah, that's in the very near future to come. You know, stay tuned for this trading group, along with Ironcoin launching. Along with Project Lumen launching as well. It's all.
Yeah, this is just the start, isn't it?
It's just a start. Yeah, this is just the beginning of it all. So I'm just trying to plant a huge, massive seed here and water it at the same time. But yeah, this is just the beginning, and I'm open to everyone, you know, coming in and bringing your own input, your own resource, your own ideas. You know, nothing's written in stone at this point. And so, and even with like there's 26 million Ironcoin, but we can burn them. We can burn them if we need to. If we decide, oh, we should only have 2.6 million, we can burn a lot of them. You know, whatever we need to do. And so I'm open to those kinds of ideas, those kinds of conversations. I just had to pick something somewhere to start, and so I'm making a lot of those executive decisions right now. But my intention is definitely to open this up so it can be like more of a panel. More of a council that discusses things every time we need to make a decision. We're discussing and moving forward, and that's part of the autonomous organization as well as the decentralized part. And we're all equal, you know, but there will be some that are part of that council, part of that board, and that'll be figured out through, you know, some sort of voting process that we'll figure out. You know, I'm not saying I have all those things figured out. I'm just saying this is my intention. This is how I intend to establish it. And then we will, you know, we'll have to figure out some of these things along the way, and that's to be expected. But we just need to stay positive, stay confident that we can do this, that we have the ability to do this, and there's no reason to think that we can't. So just, you know, hold in our mind's eye that vision of us actually coming together, us experiencing abundance individually and collectively, and us creating these alternative solutions that then can spread this abundance and liberation throughout all of humanity. And then, of course, these truths will be disseminated alongside, you know, when people see FE and they realize, oh, it's Ironcoin, you know, and then they realize, oh, the earth is flat, and that's why we called it Ironcoin. You know, that'll be a revelation that people will have, and I look forward to hearing about that revelation, you know. But that's just another piece in this puzzle, another tool to help all of this grow. You know, I'm really trying to push forward with the flat earth movement, with the cryptocurrency, but also recognizing that we don't have the best solution. Bitcoin is not the best solution. Let's build that best solution, and let's do it with the brightest people that I've come to meet, which are the flat earthers in the flat earth community. You know, and we're the ones most capable and inclined to actually just implement it and do it, because we're not afraid. We're not afraid of Big Brother or central government. You know, and now we're in the numbers where
and we know what it is. They don't know what it is, do they? We know what it all is. Well, we don't know everything, but we know what this system is, and a lot of people don't.
Mm-hmm.
Yet.
All right.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
Unless we have anything else.
I'm going to come back and say goodnight to everybody. Going to present you, Aaron. And Aaron, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Solid. Yeah, it's getting dark now with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it takes, you know, it takes a lot to stand there for 3 hours and do a presentation and talk.
It does. Well, yeah. Yeah, I feel more energized now actually than I was when I started. But
just to let everybody know in the chat room, anybody that's watching, we're going to be talking to Robert Forsh tomorrow, well, UK time tomorrow afternoon. And then hopefully tomorrow night we'll just have a people's panel, because we've had a very deep discussion on maybe the future, well, a future with Flat Earth. I really appreciate it, Aaron. I hope everybody else does. That this is an idea, a concept. Okay, it's on a program and it can start happening. It didn't mean that you didn't say things couldn't change a bit forward that you can see. And thank you so much. And we all come back next week.
Yeah.
Tell us a bit more.
Definitely.
Yay.
Update.
Thank you, Aaron.
Yeah. All right.
Everybody.
Bye-bye.
Flat Earth hugs. And see you tomorrow. Well, tomorrow afternoon UK time, everybody who's there or wants to watch Robert Forsh. Thank you, Aaron, Yudit, Patricia, and whoever's been on the panel. Marlena, Josh, everybody. Oh, Levena. Anyway, bye, everybody.